Hello, welcome back to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I stand to be the best of us, Eric Shea.
And I'm Jim Warner.
And this is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 576.
I sit to be the best of us, Eric, is what I say. And here
You
we
Neil.
are. Neil. You, Bob. We are here for 576, you said? Here
Yes.
we are. Cracking myself up already, Eric. I'm very tired right now. I did a lot yesterday. Well, I was up real late talking about the Avengers with Gray. So right away, I want to tell everybody, if anybody wants to listen to me wax poetic about the Avengers movie, I was on Gray's channel, the Wakazashi's Tea House channel over on YouTube. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for that. And it was funny because you laughed because I haven't seen that movie in quite some time. I told you I was going to take a nap. I didn't take a nap, and I did watch the movie, Eric, but it was pretty cool. I remembered some stuff. Of course, I ended up talking with another fella that was on, and I started going on tangents, and I saw that guy like rolling his eyes.
That's why we don't do a video podcast.
Yeah, that's what I actually thought. That was my point. I'm glad that we don't. But yeah, I was, bringing up some stuff we've talked about in the past with certain movies and things like that. But yeah, I don't think the guy quite got my deal. So here we are. He was nice, though. He was a nice guy. But here we are, and we have 4 books that me and Eric are going to talk about. One added on that me and Thomas or Tommy, will be talking about. What did I call him? Did I call him Thomas at one point? And then
Tommy.
I laughed. Okay, I did say. I said to him today while we were recording, like, I think I might have called you Tommy, and I don't know why. And he's like, well, I have something to look forward to, is what he said. So all in all, that was an odd play. We have 5 books, so not a plethora minus 1, but they are some big books. I mean, we actually have the solid lineup of the books. We'll not really include the Dark Patterns, but something that I'm glad that me and Tom got to talk about, because I got to throw it in people's faces that I was right, Eric. And I love that. I love it. The problem, though, is it's a subjective right. So I don't think anybody will agree with me. But then there was kind of a wreck. But here we are. And if you're wondering, well, what about all those other books? Like, say, an Absolute Batman. Well, if you don't know by now that we have a live stream of our Absolute Batman and all the Absolute powers, all the Absolute books. We have that on Friday night at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time every week that an Absolute book comes out. Eventually, we're guessing there'll be, one just about every week once they start releasing them. Though,
and more.
I did look because they already start doubling up when the newer solicits. I did check to see, but it only looked like 1 week. But that's kind of cool. But we'll be talking about that. You could join us live stream. You can talk with everybody in the chat. Eric ended up shaming them all, saying that if they showed up on Valentine's
Day
night at 7, and it's a Friday. I mean, there's so many things that are involved in there. We were there, Eric, and a bunch of people were there. So I guess we're all sad sacks. But you can go and you can also listen to that on the regular feed. And also, we have 2 other books that we already talked about that are on the Badass Patreon Spotlight. And they are picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. DC versus Vampires, World War V, Darkness and Light #1, Electric Boogaloo. That's the first book that we talked about. And Black Lightning #4 is the second book. And they're books, Eric. They're certainly books. That DC versus Vampires, World War V, Darkness and Light #1, the title that just keeps on giving. Maybe if you were confused by that book, and who is this Harper Row? Who is this Cohen? Who is this kid? This crazy kid, Josh. You'll be able to hear us talk about it on the podcast and lament why they didn't do more with them and stuff. It was an odd issue. Black Lightning #4 is something that Eric has enjoyed. I think people who listen to the podcast would know that. And we're both worried that might not end so favorably in issue #5 because of, there's a ton of things still out there, but you could hear us talk about that in a show that was about an hour and 40 minutes long. So if you do need more, and why wouldn't you go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science. But we're going to get right to it, Eric, because we mentioned the badasses. You know them. You love them, Eric. They're the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. And this is their roll call. I tried to make a rap song for Aquaman. It didn't work out, Eric. Here's the roll call, though. Andrew Belfast, don't mention it. D-Man 3001, David Fink, Jack Halsey, Nick Rust, Trevut, and now the page shifted on me here. Tom Johnson, Tommy Boy, Dan Smith, JLG, Big Z, The Mark Claire Show, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline, Stork talking all that crap. Michael S., Matt Razor, Niels T-Word, Stephen Baum, Jason Colby, Soup42 to you and me, Mike G., Ken Halleck, Comic Boom Iraqi, Mix Master Shea. Why I wanted to do the rap. You inspired me. You're on the wheels of steel over there. Mark Jager, Carlos, Two of Marv, Luke Hollywood. I don't know what's happening. Simon, you do. Luis,
every week.
Chip, Swanee, I don't know. The mic went on and my brain went off. Vermillion, Joshua Vermillion, Batman Beyond Mark, Brandy Murray, he's up there in Canada, Buffalo, Canada, and Double A Ron, doxing his ass in Minnesota. And just to let everybody know that doesn't like Philadelphia or the Eagles, they could suck it, Eric. I just wanted to throw that in as well. There's so many people
don't even like Philadelphia.
So mad. No, I don't mind Philadelphia in general because we're part of it. I'm not going to hang out on Ogons Avenue. Believe me, when people diss Philadelphia, they're not saying that they don't like, Fifth and Chew. They're saying us is what they don't like, and I don't like it. I saw that Jon Stewart was bashing us.
I'm okay with
Eric. Yeah. I'm telling you though, it's not. I don't think that the people in middle America,
as a city.
Well, I'm telling you, they identify us as what they're talking about. Even then, South Philly people, they're a little odd. Like my mom. My mom's, straight out of Bournemouth, South Philly is what it is. That's what we need to make. A rap with an old lady, a British lady, yelling straight out of South Philly.
Think we do.
Awesome.
I really don't think we do. Your mom's just trying to catfish people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she's trying to do. She's got some weird shit going on, but I get updates from people, and I don't want the updates, and I tell them, and they don't listen. Jay, my buddy Jay, I'll get a text every 2 months. Your mom has purple hair. I'm like, cool. And then I start the rap. I don't care. See, it rhymes, Eric. But then I say, does this rhyme? But here we are. We don't have a ton of books, but like I said, they are pretty important. Some of the big hitters, a new #1 on the Green Lantern scene that we'll see what we think of that. Obviously, well, it's the whole Green Lantern scene. I'm worried about that book, but we'll talk about it when we get to it. But we also have Aquaman, pretty cool. I'm waiting for that harpoon hand. We end up getting a weird play in the Action Comics.
Back 30 years, but okay.
Yeah, I still want it. I don't care. And Batman and Ramen, which I was told I'd lose my mind on. So we have a bunch of things to do. We might as well just get right to it. I'm not going to tell you what I ate yesterday. Not going to tell you that I have diarrhea. None of that, Eric. That's not anything for anybody to hear. I'll keep it to myself. Is what I'll do. I'm so tired. Right now, I'm barely able to keep my eyes open. That's how tired. I told you I'm going to have to go make some coffee and maybe get an energy drink. Now with that, I never have bought an energy drink really in my life. I'm not a big fan of them, but
this counts as food.
Rafe up there, he has 2 cases of Monsters. I'm gonna go nab one. I'm gonna steal one there. I'm gonna go up there. It's gonna be a caper. It is. He has I'm telling you, he does have cameras and stuff in his room, so I'm gonna have to go real fast. I'm gonna real flat and sideways.
You think you are the Flash?
I'm gonna dodge.
I think you're just slow.
I'm gonna dodge the deal. Well, actually, could it be that if I went real slow?
The Quakertown Comet has seen better days.
That is true. Though I did. Now that you say it, really now here we go. Now, well, I did end up seeing a guy, and I think I did tell this to Tommy Boy. I ended up seeing a guy that I haven't seen in 30 years. A guy, Rick, who I really liked. It was a guy who this guy I could talk to, whatever. He's a really nice guy. And I realized that he's the only guy I think that ever called me Jimmy, because I was in Walmart and I hear this Jimmy, and I turn around and it's this Rick guy, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh man, I wish Eric was here. I really wish you could see these people I graduated with. You would be impressed by me then. It's all a matter of back and forth.
Maybe it's just the ones that shop at Walmart.
And this guy was actually in really good shape at one point. Those days,
we're called teenagers.
Holy moly, yeah. I just thought, boy, I'm starting to rise in the ranks here. I think so. I think Eric would be impressed. I was looking. I'm like, somehow I was hoping you'd be there. You would be there. You'd just walk right by. And that'd be funny. I'm like, Eric. And I wanted you to size us up. And then now you could tell everybody, boy, you look pretty good. You look.
I don't want to talk to you in public. Now you want me to talk to strangers in public?
You want to hear something? This is going to make you laugh. Now I say that a lot of times, and it doesn't. This will. I've mentioned, I think, on this the idea that I haven't done much wash, but I'll buy shorts and shirts, right?
Yeah.
So
you're going for the middle school gymnasium look.
Well, that's always my look. So yesterday, or I guess it was 2 days ago, maybe
shorts
yesterday.
and t-shirts.
So I'm in Walmart, and this is when I see this Rick guy. And then after I talk to him, I go and pay, and I go out and I sit down in the car, and I look, and I had that fucking sticker. It was on these shorts. And I'm like, motherfucker. And I'm sitting there thinking, because I actually did think right away, like, I wish Eric was here. He would even end up seeing this guy. And then I'm out there, I'm like, son of a bitch. It was like you were haunting me. And I'm like, I didn't even know sometimes those are on shorts. I was so mad.
Ridiculous, but now it just looks like you're stealing shorts from the Walmart.
You don't understand. That's what I thought right away. That because at our Walmart, maybe they do it all the time. It's like,
who doesn't realize they have a tag on their basketball shorts?
Well, it's because I just grabbed them.
Was it under your belly? What happened?
No, it was not. It was not under the awning. I end up because they do check your receipts and stuff. They have that person there that annoys me.
I've never been checked once.
I haven't either. That's what annoys me. First off, they think I'm too good to not steal. I don't know. What happens, though, is, and this might be a bit I've seen them stop people. People don't look like me or you. And it bothers me, Eric. It really does. I'm like, why are they stopped? These people just are there. What I do, though, is as I'm going, I pretend I'm reading my receipt. And I always try to look confused. Like, how much was that? That's my game. And then I get out and I'm like...
The best part is, I want to think that these people who are checking these things at least have some kind of neurosis like you and I have, and they know exactly what you're doing.
Well, maybe.
Because I would know.
What I think of the neurosis, I think if that was me, I'd never check any receipts. I wouldn't be able to. I'd feel bad. Like, hey, buddy. Like, and actually, I've seen some videos where people won't do it. They cause a big scene.
I've been standing next to people who won't do it. It becomes a big scene, and I get uncomfortable. Now I have to leave.
And I get uncomfortable.
I was waiting for Jess to come out so we can go home together. Looks like I'm going home on my own because I can't be around for this.
Yeah. And then you start worrying that if you go around them, they're gonna think you're. I don't know, but I guess they can't tell. I don't know how it is. There's the one time though that they were checking this family. And so I didn't want to just go ahead and through. So I'm standing there, and the lady looks up.
Ready for the pat downs.
The lady looks up and says to me, "Oh, you're okay," and that got me mad. Actually, why am I okay?
That's the thing is, you got mad. I just be like, "Damn straight," and keep on walking.
I said that as I was running, and I wanted to start laughing. I got you this time, got him, and run out. But they also then have the thing that'll beep. I don't get it. I don't get it. It does seem like it's when you're getting big purchases, which me and you probably would never make. No. Never make. I'm getting
even if I go to a Walmart, I'm in there, I get a hoagie and an action figure and some soda pop, and I'm out.
Yeah, that's about it. But I bet you if we had a TV, they'd probably stop us. But I don't know. I have no idea. But I do get angry. That one time though, because they stopped this family, and then the way she said it, she's like, "Oh, you? Oh, you're okay." I'm like, why was that? Why am I okay? And she probably
because you're wearing a t-shirt and gym shirts. There's nowhere for you to freaking hide what you're stealing.
And then she just thought, if that's the shit you're stealing, you're bad.
She's not checking your prison wallet.
It was the lady, that old lady that's usually doing it. She seems very angry, that lady, too.
Of course she is. She gets yelled at all day.
I don't think you go do you go at night still a lot?
I've gone twice in the past year.
There's a guy who does it, and I in my mind, I call him Mr. Smiles because he seems so pleasant, always smiling. But I think he knows me now. Because I think we have this rapport thing. Because he's a night, so I'm like, hey, what's up? Not that I don't say what's up. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. I just say, hey,
my man.
And what he says then is, oh, you're back, and I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna get you. I figured I'm gonna steal shit now. I'm on his in. He's my guy on the inside or something, but I really wouldn't have anything to steal.
No, or any place to put it.
No. Well, I have it in the cart. I'm stealing in plain sight is what
and
I'm
even
doing.
That, the whole thing is I never have a cart, so there's nowhere I'm hiding. I might have a basket.
I will tell you, I did something the other day. I think I told Stork this, but I am a bit of a piece of shit. I wanted to get these pretzels. right? But they're those like not the Dutch pretzels, because I'm no Rockefeller. If you know those,
I
people
don't even know
laugh
what
right
that
now.
is.
These things are like $9 pretzels. It's like a bag of pretzels is $9. Of course, my kids love them, but these seasoned pretzels. So I'm going to get these seasoned pretzels, right?
They're called
And
Snyder's.
They have the Snyder's, but they have a Walmart version. I thought, you know what? The Walmart version is almost double the bag and half the price, but I'm afraid they're not going to be good. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do it. I would never do this. I wanted to taste them, Eric. But what I thought was...
You used to buy those potato chips that were really cheap, that were barely... I don't even think they were potatoes. They were just called chips or some shit, and you loved them because of how cheap they were. You don't care about how they taste.
You
just care about saving a cent.
The savory flavored, you'll know. Remember, those were like... They were something called like the
Munchos.
Oh, I do like the Munchos. But I did have stuff when we were working. It was like the fall off the rack. I don't know. It was like they fell out of the machine and they
fell off the conveyor onto the floor and somebody slipped them into a bag for you.
And then you get them cheap. And I'm in. No, so I wanted to I wonder if these are good. I didn't, because I was going out on a limb anyway with these things. So I go and I'm like, I'm just going to try one of these. I'm going to open up the Walmart one. I'm going to try it, but I'm sure I'm going to be okay with it and just get it. But because I'm a prude and I don't know what to, it's a caper, Eric. I'm walking around, I'm picking things up.
You shouldn't be doing this.
As I have this, and I have the sleight of hand with the
especially because I know you. If you don't want it, then you'll leave it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to that. So I'm there and I'm like in the dog food aisle. I'm like looking as I'm reaching, like the other hand's reaching to get it. And it opens it up. And then I put that down and then I start coughing, but I'm coughing with the pretzel in my hand there. Right in my mouth, and I started chewing. Then I'm looking at the cameras. I actually, at one point, was going to go get spray paint, spray the cameras. Would have been cool. No, and I ate it. I'm like, oh, these taste like shit. So I was worried, like, are they on me?
You should be worried, just because all of this went through your mind.
Yeah, I'm telling you, prices are too high.
This never would have crossed my mind whatsoever.
Well, it wouldn't have before, but hey.
Like some people might be used to
$9 a dozen.
People might be used to going to the grocery store. They might see somebody pick a grape to see how the grapes are right now.
That's what I figured. I was thinking of that too.
But then they turn over there and they see you just shoving the whole vine down your throat and saying, "I don't like these."
No, it's there. I'm peeling an orange. Hey, everybody! I actually thought of it as a grape. I planned on buying them, but they weren't good at all. So I did get the Snyder's. That'd be funny. Then I'm like, and then I really wasn't hungry. And I got the Snyder's ones. They're very good. Though I ate like half the bag and then I started feeling bad. And then I looked at the ingredients. Oh, these have garlic in them. I couldn't taste or smell it. And I'm telling you, the taste itself though is really strong.
I don't know how you're still new at life.
I don't know. That's why I go through life with babe's eyes.
Annoyingly,
is that what they say? Baby's eyes. Everything's new. Everything's
That's the thing.
exciting.
It's the idea. Like every child is born to the point where it seems like all they want is death to be a thing, and that's why you have parents there to try to stop them from getting themselves killed. You have never surpassed this point. You have no one to look out for you.
No, like the idea of you like, oh, the baby touched the burner. Oh, burner. Oh, it's fine. Now it'll never do it. No. Is it as hot as it was before?
That's why we have to really enact in this entire world, not just the country, the idea of survival of the fittest. If the kid's going to die, you could always make more.
Here's the thing, though. I
just make a better evolutionary, race of human beings.
I'm setting myself up for that every day. Every day, I'm fighting death. There you go. I think I survive, though. If I see something that's cherry red hot, I guess it doesn't.
Which is funny because you don't leave your house.
Well, I don't, and still this shit happens. I go from here to Walmart, Walmart to Aldi, Aldi home. That's all I do. That's all I do, and it's getting boring, Eric. It's getting real boring. So yeah. But that doesn't really bother me. But it is getting really boring. I'm at a point where I just don't know what to eat. I have nothing like exciting to eat. I tried to make British food, and it was okay. But with that, Eric,
and here we are. Even though if you did not think that the pretzel talk was food related, it was.
It wasn't. That was more shoplifting related. Is what
about
that.
Food.
I was worried. I was really worried about that. Also, I'd have
turned you in.
Yeah, I know you would have. You jerk! You're a wreck.
Look,
you are.
If I have to see that, then I'm going to get some enjoyment out of it.
Would it bother you if at one point, just one time? Oh, actually, did I tell you the time where I left Wawa without paying for a coffee?
You say that. I was there.
No, this is a different time. This is a time where I was actually working on like lyrics to a song at the same time getting a coffee. I'm on my phone.
I've seen you order food at Wawa and then walk out without taking it.
Well, that might happen. I'm saying the idea that I actually stole a coffee. I felt I got almost home. I turned around and went back and paid for it. That's how I do get upset with stuff like that. But I went back. And then I felt like a jerk. I actually, it was one of those where if I said to the lady, I'm sure, where I said, hey, by the way, I actually walked out. She'd probably like, why are you coming back? Just get out of here. Though I did last weekend for Super Bowl Sunday. I did go out to get some stuff for the game. And it was stuff for the game. Okay. So while I was giving out free coffees all day. And so I go up to pay, but why I was getting a coffee is to get a quarter for all. So I go to pay, and she's like, oh, coffees are free today until the Super Bowl kickoff. Oh, they're free. I'll be right back. And I went and got a couple more coffees. And then when I came back, she's like, why are you coming back? They're free, idiot. Yeah. And then I left. But I still needed a quarter, so I asked her for change for $1. Eric, I got 3 coffees then. Drank them all. They tasted great.
I hope so.
I'm having problems there. It's what it is. Times are tough. If I see free coffee, I'm digging in. That is an open invitation.
Times have always been tough because you have always done this.
I love when there's that's the whole, you do like the idea, like times when we have it, when there's the free coffee and the extravagance of stories that I go through. Like, all the guys, they told me at the work site.
And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I don't even care if it's free. I'm just going to make coffee at home and not deal with any of this.
At the end, the boss, you know how he is. If I don't forget, I just go through the whole rigmarole. But that's it. We're going to get to the books. We don't have a lot of books, so I figured, why not? Why not, Eric? But we have some big ones. As I
told you for a long time. Why
not? When I look at the stats, I'll see right in my face. Why not? But that's that, Eric. Yeah, here, like we said from the beginning. You have to give them something they're not going to get elsewhere. Now, they may not want it. We never figured that in, but then again,
I did.
There's a reason why they're not getting it elsewhere, but here it is. Here it is, people. I'm a scumbag. It's what I am. And say it, Eric, you knew that all along. But
I don't need to.
I'm a lovable scumbag, hopefully. Hopefully. Also, recently, a lot of old ladies, mostly at Walmart and Aldi, they're calling me cutie a lot. And that bothers me.
They see a special needs guy. They want to make them feel good.
Oh, see, now you're canceled. You jerk.
Why?
They're looking and they're like, well, how are you leaving? Is the short bus here yet? I'm like, you bitch. No, it was weird. Like 3 days in a row, somebody called me cutie. And nobody. Stop laughing. Oh, you jerk. But that's it for the beginning. Here we are, the podcast, people, and we're going to be going off to these books. Big books, I told you. Also, Dark Patterns, all that rolled up into one right about now.
The stars, a world torn apart, a symbol of strength right from the start. In a world full of darkness, he lights up the sky, lifting us higher, teaching us why. They say one man can't carry the weight, but he stands tall, defying his fate with a heart of steel and a will to inspire. He burns like the sun, bringing life from his fire. He's a man of tomorrow, shining so bright. Through the darkness, he's a beacon of light. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. A hope for the world in the face of sorrow. the crest of hope upon his chest, fighting for the lost, giving his best. With hands that can shatter, but choose to heal, he shows us that mercy is stronger than steel. He's the man of tomorrow, shining so bright. Through the darkness, he's a beacon of light. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. A hope for the world in the face of sorrow.
And here we are, Eric, a song about Superman. You go into a Superman book. That makes total... So was that about Robin? It could have been. Actually, I think it was. I thought at one point,
now a man to inspire.
Yeah, well, he's growing older. This Damien, he's growing old every day. He's there. He's too old for John now, and there you go. We learned that in the Shazam book last week. At one point, I thought he said butt cheeks, but you didn't say butt cheeks. So here we are. We have 2 books in this section, 2 big books. It's funny too. Yeah. The idea of this, I have one point for you. Action Comics seems like the least important book of all these, and it's weird because it shouldn't. Action Comics, I think the Superstars Initiative thing is kind of worn its welcome out. I'm not all in, Eric, is what I'm saying, and I don't hear anybody talking about like, oh my God, I have to read Action Comics. Oh my God, Action Comics this. It hasn't been great. And
Action Comics is weird for the idea of the Superstars Initiative, where you have all these writers coming in doing whatever they want, to the point where before, when we had Gail Simone on the book, she was just doing an out of continuity, but like, a 1970s style book. And then we had Mark Waid on for what would have been a year if it wasn't weekly, doing his Phantom Zone story that kind of just crashed and burned. And like, we've had some other things going on, but it's like John Ridley is telling, for what I can tell, a in-continuity story. It's just, I don't think anybody knows where to stand on this book right now, especially because Superman, for the most part, has been killing it.
Yeah, and that's the deal. And even if you did like the story, I'm kind of bored with it. But if you like it, it's just going to end next issue anyway. And then you're going to wait for the next person and the next person. And it just it doesn't have any momentum. It never can, because of the way it was going. And the chance that it did that with that Mark Waid deal, that fell apart by the end. So I think that you're right. And I know that it hasn't been the most popular deal, but there's some people who may get absolute Superman. There's some options now. So I think that maybe they should just get back to, somebody having Action Comics, get somebody to write it, and then start telling an in-continuity deal. It's weird, though, because, I guess they're having the problem. You do it with Detective. I mean, there's no problem between Batman and Detective. But I think because Superman stuff is so big, maybe that's it would feel weird to have a side book that's still almost like
before.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it might, though, now, because then I'm thinking if they do that, because what happened recently is they were having the Action Comics kind of go in, and Joshua Williamson was doing the stuff at the beginning of this, and then you had one writer breaking 2 at points, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know that this, and I saw whatever sales are available, they're not really definitive, but it didn't look like Action was doing very well. I don't think people are into it, but you give us the credits and we'll jump into this one.
Action Comics number 1083, written by John Ridley with art by Inaki Miranda, Eva De La Cruz, and Dave Sharp. And we continue our story about what happened to Major Disaster. A villain turned good, turned evil again. Old Clark Kent is on the case and trying to track down why old Major Disaster would do such a thing when all of Superman's hopes and dreams were in this villain turned good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the idea of this and how they set it up, and how it was interesting to see somebody coming and trying to shoot, Clark Kent. And we thought it was funny where he's like, you idiot. Like, what did you mean by that? Whatever. And we find out kind of in this. I mean, we do find out what had happened. It's a little convoluted. And the whole story just going with, Clark following the story. And it wants to be a Clark Kent deal. But we know that for almost a fact, they have that edict that you have to have Superman doing something in issues. So you end up having him go to the sun. And then he is there in a different deal with Bruno Mannheim. And I don't know. It just felt
when you
weird.
start the story off, you have, Clark coming out of his, attack that we saw at the previous issue where Batman came in and scooped him up. And we sit there and pontificate on who could be attacking Clark Kent. Was it meant to be Superman? They couldn't know my identity because after Luthor's Project Blackout, anybody who knows my identity that would attack me, they'd have a seizure and or die. So it's somebody who was actually attacking Clark Kent. But how were they able to hurt me? Was somebody who had to be even talked to recently, who's leveled up, who can manipulate red solar radiation to do all this stuff? Ultimately, it turns out to be Scorch, one of the people that used to hang out with, with Paul Brooks, Major Disaster, and all these other people that Clark Kent has talked to. He talked to her as well. And it's this weird thing where I just didn't see the idea where, she is the one that was able to hurt him for what she did. I don't know, her attacking Clark Kent and thinking she could just attack him doesn't feel like a situation where, her going after him using her Scorch abilities is the one who's going to be able to, take him down because he is Superman, but she doesn't know it.
And the weird thing is, again, you're talking, you're like, Scorch, Scorch. I think a lot of people don't even know Scorch. And I think that the problem is a lot of people don't know Major Disaster. A lot of people don't know Bruce. What was it? Bruce Almighty. The idea of all this going when this is going on, because in this week, we've read the books already. This is obviously we're finishing up this with the podcast today. No book really got bad reviews for the most part, rave reviews, except this one. And I think people are just lost. Half of them are lost, but half of them are bored. I'm kind of in the bored more, but I can't get a grip of why I need to care. But I did get some things where when things are a little wacky, I tend to go a little wacky myself. And the very beginning made me laugh because he ended up Clark, he wakes up and he's like, how did I? And then you off panel. It's okay, Clark. And he goes, Lois? And I went, yes, it is. Or actually, man, you really got cocked. It's me, Bruce. It really threw me out. Oh, he's asking if he told her. It's such a weird play. But yeah, I do like Bruce there, helping him and went in and grabbed him and whatnot. But then, I don't know, this dialogue and those two together, it felt off. Everything feels off. I don't know that I like the voices of the characters that John Ridley writes here and how he writes them. But the idea of trying to figure out, hey, who would do this? How would they do that? When it gets to be Scorch, it really just came to the deal of I really don't care about that. The big thing that I was into was the whole Atomic Skull. That's kind of the most recent thing of the thing.
Well, Atomic Skull should be the focus of this whole thing, not Major Disaster. For everything that we've actually seen of him in different Superman and Action comics over the years, which they bring up here for the idea that Maggie Sawyer brought him in the Special Crimes Unit. He was doing good work, but now he's still been turned evil again, doing evil things in different comics, in Action comics, or was it Superman? Either way, but Major Disaster is the big focus point, even though I think old Albert here should be. And the whole idea becomes, look, a bunch of these people, all these these criminals who are trying to redeem themselves, they were all talking to this therapist, Max Boykin, and Max Boykin apparently used them for this Bruno Mannheim deal, where Bruno Mannheim, even though he is on the up and up because he's a legitimate businessman, he's stealing time off of people's DNA in order to, sell to billionaires and what more years.
That's the weird play is he's on the up and up because he's not stealing time. Yeah. He's contractually taking time, but not time. This is basically every story that we deal with, but it does have a neat little twist in it. It's still the idea of paying people off because they drank bad water. It's still the idea of them saying, hey, you're desperate, getting desperate people at desperate times, and ends up saying, hey, for this little bit, and you won't notice this will just take a little bit off your deal at the end. But then the big play is there is side effects of hopelessness. There's side effects of anger and sadness and things like that, depression, because of that, your body and mind react to the idea that you're no longer, your full length, whatever it would be. That's interesting enough. It's actually a neat little concept.
Well, it is interesting, but I saw something
the way
recently.
That it plays out, it just doesn't play out well.
I saw something recently that I couldn't even remember the name of, but the whole idea is they were taking little pieces of people's souls that they you're not going to miss any of this. So they took a little piece of their soul, and that would be a thing that they could sell on the black market. I even saw when I was trying to look it up because I remembered it as time just like this. But apparently there's a whole bunch of things where the idea is people have a little bit of their time taken away from them, sold, given money
and you
for it.
saw the movie? You're saying you saw the movie, or you just
I saw a TV show, I believe it was, about the idea of taking a bits of soul.
Because
along the
I remember
time.
something like that, and there was a lot of motorcycle riding. Was there a lot of motorcycle riding?
Well, there was the Justin Timberlake like movie In Time, which they like use everything as time for like currency.
Maybe that. I remember somebody watching something like that, but there was a lot of motorcycle riding. I didn't really pay that much attention, but so again, now you're even saying the idea that it's not really that interesting if you've seen other things.
The one I looked it up, though, I saw this thing on Netflix, apparently, they have called Paradise. A man sees the dark side of time-manipulating biotech company he works for when a crushing debt forces his wife to give up 40 years of her own life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you even have crazy things in, say, even a Death Note. You get the Shinigami eyes if you give up half your lifeline. And it's always that, monkey paw, though, of what's going on. And in that, you don't really know what your lifeline is then. So you might actually be giving 2 minutes because you might die in 4 minutes, or it might be whatever. But again, now that we're talking about it, I think it's interesting, but it's not that original. It's kind of a twist, but it still ends up being Bruno Mannheim being a guy who's taking advantage of the people who, are desperate and then coming up with this weird scheme. But even then, like the way that the pacing is, it just, to me, it was a slog to get through. And I'm reading through it and I'm like, I checking page count. I couldn't even remember. I thought we still had backups. I'm like, I'm never going to get this thing done. And then it just ended. I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll just end this.
Well, it's so weird because we saw Bruno Mannheim, he was going legit over in Star City. Green Arrow was going to take it to him in the boardroom. Now he's in Metropolis buying, convicts' time so he can sell it to other people who want more time because time is priceless, as you know, as being immortal. But the idea where he goes to talk to Aubrey about this, Scorch, and she's like, oh, there's this guy, Max Boykin. He's a connection between Atomic Skull, Major Disaster, a lot of these are previous convicts who are trying to get out and redeem themselves. And then she teleports him to this other world, it seems like, this other pocket dimension, this other place, this weird place where Bruno Mannheim is just waiting for him. But
he's just hanging. I love him in that suit, right?
Well, yeah, it's Bruno. He's always going to be wearing a suit.
But he's in this pocket dimension that's like bare and wizard. He's there just in the suit. I'm like, you could change it up. I guess I don't change it up.
It's so weird, the idea. He's just waiting for Superman to finally go to Scorch so Scorch can teleport the both of them and have, Bruno Mannheim's spiel about what he's doing here.
Yeah, and the weird play is when the spiel is almost like, hey, you see this bad stuff? It's all in the books. There's no reason for him to really, except maybe, I don't know. It really does end up being an odd play in this. But I also will tell you, I haven't asked anybody, but I think there'll be people out there who will agree. The characters a little better. And so when you start talking about, and they're not saying Major Disaster, because John Ridley wants to do a Clark Kent who's looking into these people's deal. But I think a lot of people probably Boykin and this and that, and they don't even know what's going on. It gets convoluted in. And in the meantime, there's a lot of, again, standing around talking. Then they sit down and they talk a little. Then they stand up and talk a little. There's not much going on.
See, the weird thing that you should be doing with Scorch at this point in time, because she was created during the Emperor Joker run where, Joker got Mxyzptlk's powers and created a whole other universe. She just happened to be one of the people that Mxyzptlk kept when he destroyed that universe and brought it to the main one. So the idea that she isn't even a part of this universe originally, maybe you should say something about that, but she's just, yeah, I did some bad things and now I'm trying to do good, but I'm also working for Bruno Mannheim. And when he tells me I gotta kill you, except Superman, for some reason, I just don't understand that. She teleports Bruno Mannheim away after the spiel about what he's doing. It's like, all right, baby, take care of him. And she goes, he's teleported away, and she's just there to Scorch his ass. I'm like, why not just leave? Because I have no idea where the hell you guys are. Just leave Superman behind. He's not a problem if you just leave him behind.
Yeah,
but because she is sitting there scorching his ass, you gave him time to talk and talk her down to the point where, well, I guess I will just teleport you back, and we'll get to the bottom of all this and try to stop bad things happening between me, Major Disaster, old Albert, Atomic Skull over there. We don't deserve this.
Yeah, and I think that John Ridley, he does tend to veer a political deal or social message and things like that. It's not quite in your face, but I think he might think it is. But this is just the idea of criminals when they get out, they can't get jobs, they can't find work because, they're past and they're trying to do better, but the system's against them and things like that. And it's fine. The problem I had, though, is why are they doing this to Atomic Skull? The guy was he was great. He ended up where, and I get you can kind of go this way or that, but I just wish he was still on the up and up and working with Maggie Sawyer, and maybe moving off to Bloodhaven or something and doing that there, whatever it would be. And, that I think that would have been a better thing. There's stories there. It's like Bendis.
Well, even
there's
when
1,000 stories there. This is just the same of I'm trying to be good. You're a flaming skull guy. It's going to be tough anytime. So he's like, screw it.
You're not even Dr. Phosphorus.
Yeah, really. You don't even write him. He should start riding a motorcycle, whipping chains and shit around.
I say this, though. I have an Atomic Skull action figure. I don't have a Dr. Phosphorus action figure.
I love Atomic Skull. I love his look. I think he's cool. And when he became, it's one of those things where people, another villain turned hero. Who cares about Atomic Skull? You know what I mean? We care about him, but I'm saying it made it better. It was so cool. Seeing him in that outfit.
I do want to know, though, the idea of bringing Scorch in as the kind of the enforcer for Bruno Mannheim when Clark Kent gets on the case and eventually Superman, because of Clark and Superman's special connection. Where there's one, there's another, but nobody should ever put the two together. The idea that we have to think that Scorch here, because Bruce says to Batman at one point, Bruce says to Superman at one point during this whole thing when we go back to a flashback to the beginning of the issue, like, have you come across any mages lately? Because maybe Red Sun wasn't the thing. Maybe it's some magic that affected you. I'm like, well, I did talk to Scorch, and I'm like, I never thought of Scorch's powers as magical, even though obviously they're created through the fifth dimensional powers.
Yep, the fifth dimensional deal.
That's not exactly magic as far as I'm concerned. And then they even say the idea, well, if she's leveled up, man, you got to watch out. I want to know how Scorch has leveled up to the point where she can hurt Superman like this. And I never saw her as a mage or a magician or a magic user.
One of the problems with stuff like this is that we probably won't find out. I mean, the next issue, I believe, just ends it. And I don't think that you don't pick up from this. You end up just its ending.
No, I'm saying Scorch is like, the character that is redeemable at this point because she wants to protect, Major Disaster, everybody else who's playing along the lines that she has. And that's why Superman is able to talk her down and teleports him back so he can go take on Bruno Mannheim and eventually, hopefully save, Major Disaster from all his woes.
I'm sure they're going to do that.
He done killed a guy, so even if we get his time back, get his optimism up a little bit, he's going to have that optimistic time in a cell.
And maybe they'll take that little sliver out in one more day. You have all the, again, though, when it's done, I don't think anybody's picking up the story, right? That's the problem. And also a problem with this way they do it is, say you're hired. They end up in like, oh my God, Eric Shea, we want you to do Action Comics. You're a superstar in your mind. So you're going to do it. But they say you're going to be on it next July. Now, by the time that, and then you say, oh man, well, I'm going to start. I have a story with it. And then the next thing you know, the character, somebody else uses it. You do tend to want to do your own thing and have different characters and different things. And we're already starting. I mean, I hate to say it, but this story's already starting to show there's not a lot left. And I believe if you said, oh, I'm going to have a dark side story, they'd say, no, you can't do that. I'm going to do
that's too big.
Cyborg Superman. No, we're too busy in that big Watchtower book.
Believe me, if I was going to do something like this, I would know what the lay of the land is.
Well, I'm saying, though, you might end up, by the time you get to it, you may have to just use some really wacky stuff, and you don't get to tell a big story.
Well, the idea of the wacky stuff, you have Bruno Mannheim introduced as the freaking, the technician behind everything that's going wrong with the redeemed heroes that we have here. But then when Superman and Scorch come back, they fight some, freaking, I can't even think of what they're called right now. The freaking, I was going to call them the Undergang, but it's Bruno Mannheim's apocalyptic gang with all this tech and stuff like that.
And now I'm thinking, isn't Overgang? But
the idea that we have this. We have Scorch and Superman taking on these people. So you have a big fight scene, but then it's all stopped because we have some aliens showing up to say you have to take your hands off the Bruno Mannheim. So on top of everything else, you say you don't know what else the story could offer. We just introduced aliens who are another threat to this whole situation, who might be the biotech, people behind Stealing Time.
I didn't say what they have to offer. I'm saying that when you get to a point, you're going to offer really wacky shit. And this is wacky shit. I'm not even saying right now is that far down the line to actually say that, they're used everything. Again, you can recycle things.
Intergang.
Yeah, intergang. Inner, over, under. I see London, I see France. But that just, the idea, though, is a lot of, and then the next story, you might have an out-of-continuity story, which you wouldn't do. But, all of a sudden I do it. It's a Mixoplex story, which we're bound to get. And then next thing, it's just, nothing ever.
I don't know why we're bound to get that, because I feel like we just did a big one over in World's Finest with the Doom Mite.
You think these smacked asses are going to come in and know what they're... Half of the people just go surface level. I'll give...
Well, technically, they could do it. Mark Waid takes, World's Finest in the past, so it hasn't happened recently timeline-wise, but we've had a lot of mites recently.
You don't even have to be in timeline. You just do out of continuity. It's just, this is weird stuff, and it ends up where,
I've got a mite story for a Green Lantern bit.
You might. You see that? I think I did it. But even then, what happens too is Dan Slott's coming up. That's one of the things. I personally, I know if people get back, I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Hopefully that it's one of those things where he comes to DC and it gives him a little spark. He's a little less angry online, right? And stuff like that. But the idea of, a lot of people don't like Dan Slott. So if you are reading it, and John Ridley the same, if you stop reading this, I think a lot of people, it's done then. Like, take it off my pull list for 3 issues and then come back. I think that people are like, I'm done with this one. Something, and that's a bad thing. There's a lot of jumping off points. Hopefully there's some jumping on points for people. But when you do these superstar things, every 3 issue, you have a, jumping off point. And it just worries me because Action Comics, again, it should be huge. It should be the big book.
Agreed.
It just, and we still consider it. We consider
right
it.
Up there, Detective Action. They come out, they're tippity tops.
That's the other thing about that is, do you think that maybe the writers don't? I hope they do. I hope they realize that that's a big thing. But
maybe they think they're writing gold each and every time.
I hope they do. I mean, it would be weird to like, hey, how's this story you just wrote? Yeah, it kind of sucks.
I don't know. Come on,
sucks.
You ain't never phoned something in.
Well, there's some songs there, but that's because I try to do one a day. These assholes are doing it. There's no dialing in there and those. I give it my all. It might suck, but so all this, though, it just ended with me saying again, when these aliens came, I'm like, oh, so you got, I'm looking at them right now. You got Bison Lady, looks like a lady maybe. You got, Guy Pharaoh.
You got Big Boy.
Big Pharaoh, big. All right, we'll see. We'll see what's going on.
He gonna kill the blue red man.
Look at him there. Yeah, I like that. Kill red blue man. All right, that actually is something that came up this week, but I won't bring that up. But we are done with that. What would you give this?
I'd give this a 5.8 out of 10. I think the art is fine throughout this. I like seeing Scorch back and some other characters that we don't normally get to see, like Mighty Bruce or Major Disaster. Atomic Skull, these are all fine things. It's just we're focused on the wrong character because Atomic Skull has been so prominent in Superman stories over the past couple of years. And when we just kind of continue on, it just seems like it's getting thinner and thinner story-wise. Even the idea of Superman being hurt because it's Clark Kent that was hurt, but because of his connection to Superman. So they're ready for Superman to show up in case, he did. And it was this whole thing turning Scorch, as far as I'm concerned, into a magic user. It's just this whole thing. It just kind of gets convoluted by the end and just kind of keep losing interest. And it's, it's just every step of the way, it just seems like it's the wrong turn that we take.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. It was very odd. I do like where Bruce says, and I think he's throwing shade. He's like, when Superman's thinking, and I like, he's got the stitches. And whoever it was couldn't have known my secret identity. Not since Luthor's attack. I'm like, yeah, it was a little, and then he goes, probably not. But Clark Kent's special relationship with Superman, I sort of kind of just try to dig into him. Oh, Erica made me giggle. I didn't really like it, but I'm a 5. I'm just a straight 5. The art's good. The art's pretty good, but other than that, it just wasn't that great. But we'll move on to the next book. What is that?
Batman and Robin, number 18, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Javi Fernandez, Miguel Mendonca, Carmine G. DiDomenico, Marcelo Mayalo, and Steve Wands. And we continue our Memento storyline. How could this impossible killer from Bruce's past be alive now when he says for certain he knows that he is dead? Let us find out in this new issue of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to make up an excuse. I hit the wrong thing. I wanted to ding it. Yeah, this is a weird issue. And I was told online that I would lose my mind. I did get upset at things, but it's not just one thing. It's kind of throughout the idea. Batman is just a dick. And Philip Kennedy Johnson doing that, we've had that recently. We had him with Zor-En-Arr and things like that. And I don't know. It ends up where I start thinking that Philip Kennedy Johnson really doesn't know how to write Batman. And then even in that, the art to me is confusing. There's parts that I don't even know what's going on, and I thought this was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I didn't mind the art this issue, and the idea of Batman being a dick. I don't really see him as an overly dick. The only time I felt that he could actually come off as dickish when he had the hot mic and Damian overheard the wrong parts of what he was saying.
Even that, I think that even him saying stuff with Jason and stuff, and also just the idea of what, I'm not even saying what he's doing, Jason in this, and why was there a hot mic? They were standing right next to each other. They don't have to be on comms. That was stupid, but...
I agree. I don't understand why you don't have a one-on-one comms and why anybody could just open up into your conversation like that. It
was just to force that in, but when Jason says, hey, we didn't ever give a shit about Gotham, we wanted you to love us. That just shows Batman is a fucking prick. That is bullshit, and I didn't like it at all. And you may differ, but the idea where that's saying that it never happened. Like if they kept doing it and went to every Robin, that means that all of them and getting together and talking about it means that Bruce doesn't love us. We tried, but we failed. He does not love us. I never thought of anything.
Well, I just saw more of the idea that they loved him.
No, but they didn't say that. They don't say, we fought for you and your thing. He said, we fought to make you love us. That is a desperate deal.
You try to do things sometimes to get to a person like your father or whatever like relationship you have to get them to feel like you love, especially if you are somebody like Jason Todd who feels like an outcast. But Jason Todd, I don't think speaks for all Robins.
He said they all talk about it. He said we've all talked about it. And the thing is, if you say, it's not that at the beginning we wanted to get your love, but then once we got it, we knew when we got in the thing. He says it as an open deal and saying every Robin did that. That means that, like, Tim Drake down the line, then he's like, well, what's going on? He's like, yeah, he doesn't love it. There's not a closure of it. If I ended up saying, man, I really tried to get my father to love me. I did all these things. And then my brother did
even
the
that,
same
the
thing.
idea of Tim Drake doesn't even ring true for the idea that he did this and tried to... Well, I'm saying, though, like, I don't blame Batman for this because it doesn't seem like something that's honest to what Jason's saying right now.
But it's what they think, and all of them think that, so it has to be something. And also, he doesn't even know that they think that. I think it's one of the worst things that I've read from Robin talking about Batman, saying we didn't give a shit about anything we were doing. All we were doing was try to get you to love us. And it seems like it means that he never did. It's not that Jason says, and then finally we realized we were wrong and we did this. It's just that's where it was left, is every one of them tried to do it to get his love. Maybe it was just the way he wrote it, and it was a weird way that he scripted it. But I think it was. I don't think it was very good. And I'm trying to
get to the point now too to see where it was, just because the idea throughout this that Batman is still under the Gravedigger Poppy, like thrall, and he is seeing and hearing things that aren't actually being said or like in front of or seen in front of him.
I don't think that this would be something that he's hearing different, or that would be a weird play. It's not like if I think the Poppy deal would be, you don't love us. He's just discussing. We had our Harvey moment. And then we have this. I think that's like big deal.
And the Harvey moment's weird too, because Red Hood brings up the idea where every Robin has had what Nightwing calls their Harvey moment. The thing that happens to them where they have to sit down and decide, is this life really for me, or should I move on and do something else? And he puts us in the response to the idea, oh, Damian's had his Harvey moment, and he explains the situation to Batman. The thing about it is, when I hear the term Harvey moment, Two-Face is the biggest antagonist to all Robins. Every Robin has had their Harvey moment, and the Harvey moment has actually been Harvey dead.
I was like, what the hell are they dissing Harvey Bullock for? No. I knew what it was. Isn't that funny?
No, even the idea, though, where like Jason Todd talks about his Harvey moment at the time he saw somebody die, he fall off a thing. He ended up saving them. But
should have been the diplomat's son.
Not even that. It should have actually been Two-Face.
It could have been.
Because he had that.
I guess at one point they're like, well, is these Hood, and they say they discuss that too.
Stephanie Brown, I don't remember if she ever had a Harvey Dent moment because, obviously I think she was Robin for in continuity 72 days, but the first three Robins, they all had the big Harvey Dent moment that almost fucking killed them.
Yeah. It's a weird play too, because again, the Harvey Bullock moment is when you let yourself go a little, you get a little fat, you sit there.
What was your Harvey moment?
It's all of my life. So you end up, again, it seems that Harvey moment deal, it's funny, you say the stuff about them all having a Two-Face deal. It seems like Philip Kennedy Johnson tried to be too clever with it and didn't realize that he had a really easy thing to say. It was great.
I'm telling you, when they said the idea of the Harvey, I'm like, oh, that's so good, because whenever I think about like who's the Robin's biggest enemy, it's Two-Face, because he's almost killed all of them for back when we had more than three.
The weird thing is I legit as a Nightwing fan, I think of Dick Grayson Robin having a Scarecrow moment, because that was like one of the big things. But they all had that too. I mean, they all had almost everything. But it felt weird.
And I go back to the idea of like a Harvey moment for Nightwing or like Dick Grayson. It always goes back to Robin year one.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what it would be, and that's even continuing now a little bit in that year one, that Batman and Robin year one too. Yeah. But yeah, that was more of that. And again, you have your Harvey moment right away. You get it done. You get the moving on.
And that's what it seems to be. It's like the first threat that a Robin has to face. If you can survive this, you're good.
Yeah, I got it more of the thing that made you like, well, I guess it would be one of the first ones, but it was the idea of something happening for you to question, should I still be doing this? Should I still?
And
am I
that's what it is
for this? And
that's what it is. But the idea of this Harvey moment, like where they almost died, but yes, that's a good thing to say.
Here's me. Like the first time I go on, anything goes on, I'm like, oh shit, why am I doing this? There's my Harvey moment.
I had a Harvey moment with this one time when I skateboarded. I fell over, almost broke my wrist. I'm like, I'm done with skateboarding.
Yeah, I thought you were going to make a joke like when I tried to connect you today on the podcast, but I'm trying to think of my Harvey moment. I think my Harvey moment was when we had our fifth son, Logan. I'm like, I'm done. That was my Harvey moment, Eric.
That was your wife's Harvey moment.
Yeah, it was. I begged her. I said this to Logan. I didn't mean it was mean, but I begged her to get her tubes tied after Ray. And there would be Logan. And what would I have done?
Why wouldn't you have gotten yours done? A very easy surgery compared to having your tubes tied.
I wasn't done having kids, Eric. I thought she should be. That's what I told her at the time. She's like, you should get your tubes tied. I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm done having kids. I mean, maybe down the line. So, yeah, it's a weird issue, though, because while this is going on, there's a lot of talk. And while the talk's going on, there really is just random action. You know what I mean? Yeah. At the beginning. And it's fine. And it's Jason. And we like having Jason and Batman. We always want that. And it's kind of a cool play to go with Jason. They're talking about it. But even so, nothing. It didn't feel right, this issue, some of the back and forth. And then you get monkeys and and Damien, which he would like the monkey deal. But this pet's kind of, I think that felt weird. Like, I don't know. Some of these things, Harvey moment, the idea of we wanted you to love us. It felt more like, hey, I'm going to write this to get a reaction, and then the pet there will get, wow moment or have a cute little pet. I don't know. We get him in a Robin costume, I'm in. But yeah, it'd be funny if they allow that stupid monkey in the hospital and shit like that. But Batman,
why would they allow the monkey in the hospital?
That's what I'm saying.
It's all hopped up on Gravedigger's property.
It is hopped up on his goofballs. Yeah, it's really whacked out. But I didn't mind that, and Lautrec is okay. But everything kind of, I don't know. Everything seemed like it was well put together and leading, and then this thing, everything just hits, and it's them yelling at each other a lot.
Batman and Red Hood fighting off against the GCPD and all these other things while Batman is enthralled with the Gravedigger Poppy. It's a cool action piece, which you get to, you don't get to see Batman and Red Hood interacting this way very often. And to counteract that, you also have, Damian Wayne and Lautrec going through Scarecrow's old lab, and you get more of the idea where you think that Lautrec is getting onto the idea, because even Damian is saying things that he has heard from his father, that he's learned from Lautrec's, mentor, Professor Bly, this whole thing. And the big reveal that it turns out that Professor Bly is the one that turned out to be Memento.
But he isn't.
But he's not. And that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
It's a weird deal because Batman, as a young boy, when he was young Jack, he saw Memento and Bly in the same place. It's a weird thing because we haven't seen more of that flashback, but he wasn't able to go and say, once the police found him, it looks like, Bly was set up to take the fall for Memento all those years ago. And Bruce was never able to go and testify in his name because of, being there illegally, being under a false name, all these different things that didn't work out and wasn't conducive to where he would end up being. Like the idea of becoming the Batman, he didn't have all the moral quandaries that he would once because he was a kid. He was still learning things and figuring things out. He needed to get the hell out of there.
What you're saying, he's a piece of shit. The thing is, I went there and Superman's standing there with him and says, hey, you're telling me the story. Why didn't you go later and try to prove his innocence with all this and whatnot? He died later. I mean, it wasn't right away. He was in there and you end up, and she seems, they don't say when. It seems like later, like she ended up, training some more, whatever. And Bruce didn't really look into it. I wish they said he died 2 days later or whatever, but I don't know. I think he lasted quite some time. And they say, they said in the deal about when people, oh no, we know that Memento died in prison. I still think that it was a while from then. And even if it wasn't whatever, he still could have tried to prove, why not try to find the real guy then any time since then?
Well, that's the big thing, the idea where, Bly was convicted of this whole thing. Batman moved on, would eventually become the Batman. And he seems to think that this cannot be Memento this whole time because for some reason there's something that happened to him that he's blacked out or we haven't seen more of, that he doesn't think that this is Memento until it seems like he's going to believe it's Memento.
I just think he thinks it was too long or something. I think there's a weird thing in the story. I think the idea of it, I'm thinking he's like, no, Memento died, but he knows that Bly wasn't Memento, but didn't look into anything else and then didn't go, I would think that this Memento would continue killing and you might want to look into it. I really think it's a real huge hole. in the story that he just let it go.
Even the idea of what he was seeing, he still can't trust what he saw as young Jack all those years ago. Because even when he's telling, what he saw, it's like, I saw Bly and Memento together that night in the power plant. I would have testified to that, but I was in London illegally under an assumed name. There was nothing I could do. And the truth was, I saw other things in that power station. Things that threw everything I'd seen into question. So it doesn't even feel like now he understands what he saw all those years ago.
I thought that was just fucked up shit he saw, and he's like, I want to fucking forget all this nonsense. But I don't know. It's very ambiguous. of the idea that you would have thought he would have went back to look into this and maybe clear the name of Bly. But he didn't. And she's Lautrec. That's what she's been trying to do, and that's why she's here. That's her connection of trying to prove, hey, this
which is strange, though, because Lautrec, though, is our only connection of all of those years ago who's still alive and out and about. So I'm still worried, even though they ended up getting, a bookshelf pushed on Lautrec, so the bad guy who was in. I don't know how it works. I'm just saying the idea there's something about her that I want to say this more than like a wink, wink, nod, nod at the end of this whole thing. Like, hey, I know you guys are the Batman and Robin because I'm a detective and you guys been talking to me, so I figured some things out. I just feel like there's got to be more than that because her whole connection. It just seems like it should be more than that, even though, like I said, Damian is caught unawares. The Trek has a bookshelf pushed down on her, so the bad guy, whoever Memento is, can leave, and Damian can go home with a monkey.
Yes, the monkey. And that again, it fits Damian's character. He ends up grabbing animals and things like that. But
who is taking care of these animals? I don't see anybody milking back cow.
Yeah. Damien, he just opens
the back cave. Titus? Who's feeding Alfred the cat?
He opens up the back cave, he shoves it down and goes, yeah, Alfred, take care of it. Runs away and it's like, yeah, I'm just going to pretend there's an Alfred down there. Runs. Maybe it's Punchbot. See, we could have had something with Punchbot there from all the deal. But yeah, the whole play of the idea of Bly, that's the reveal, that they did arrest him. He had gone insane, and he ended up killing some people anyway. So, again, he would have been arrested anyway. It looks, so I don't know. The idea of what Bruce saw, I think that the other things going is
I don't know if Bly actually killed anybody. I think a lot of this stuff was actually so just planted in his apartment.
It's just he had it all over himself and stuff, and I don't know.
He does the doodles with the human blood.
Oh, he's going all over the place there. But again, I think that the idea of, but I hope it's not. I hope that we do find something that isn't just like all of a sudden at the end it's, oh, it was Memento, he's a ghost, he's gone, whatever. Because there's a hole there that I don't like a Batman just like, out of sight, out of mind, and get going. You could have said maybe. A lot of times Batman does get his mind wiped of things too and whatnot. But you end up where we know that Bly was arrested for it. That's why Lautrec's there. She's figuring out Batman and Robin. And maybe later we'll see the scene again. And she had a rope and she's pulling the bookshelf on herself. I don't think so. I don't know. And so when we get to this, the big play isn't real. Memento's there. It's a weird thing because Memento is a villain that you kind of have to think about a bit because of the idea, he's replicating these, but there's always crimes we don't know.
He's replicating tragedies, mass murders, like disasters at different cities to show the same thing that happened like 100 years ago, but also exposing people to gravediggers, Poppy, to make them fucking out of their mind.
And then also in this seems to be setting up a gang war. There's a lot going on with that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of, but really what this is about is Batman and Damian. And Damian not wanting to do this, we all have this moment. Also, you could have had the idea where Batman, would have been right on character with what Damian was at one point, saying to Jason, did you guys talk to Damian about this Harvey moment? And I think he'd have an issue with the name and all that, whatever. And then, no, he didn't want to listen and stuff like that. Or, no, we all have to do it and go through it ourselves and whatnot. But when you get that open mic, there's no reason. The hot mic, there's no reason. They're standing right next to each other. And Batman's very particular. The mic thing is something that Batman takes a lot of precautions with, to have it open, but also to be able somebody could patch in that way was so forced. And then it becomes the idea almost of, I don't want you around, kid. And then, I love you, that sort of thing, because he's going to yell.
Needs to talk to Batman about Lautrec being, pinned down, needing some help there. It's like, he came to me so damaged by the League of Assassins. I don't know if he'll ever overcome their influence. I suspect even Malik Bashir is one of theirs. He's taken Robin under his wing. He's taken great interest in him, supposedly sees some great promise in him. I think it's more likely Dr. Bashir is involved with the Al Ghul's orchestrating this tension between Robin and me, maybe even the Memento killings. you and I know what Robin is capable of, but based on grades, tests, and all the usual metrics, he's unremarkable at best. Either Bashar knows more than he should about Robin, or he's hiding some other motive. And at this point, Robin turns off the mic, and then Batman continues, Damian stands to be the best of us.
We've had this recently, and also Damian has quit being Robin recently. He's did Robin no more, ripped the patch off, and he's done. So we've had this. The craziest thing is, can I get? Do you have Batman's number? I need to get to this guy and tell him, because when this shit happens with
Justice.
1-800 Just Ice, you end up where. Mix in the good, Batman. He always does. This is not the first time that he's done shit like this where he's going on and on and on. And then at the end, I swear to God, at the end, I'm waiting for him to say, Damian hangs up and he says, that's what somebody who didn't like Damian would say. But I had the opposite. Because it's so, and even the idea, I love the line where if you read it and just go surface level deal, it really does make it seem like he's like, yeah, Damian's a dumbass. Like that. But he's saying that there's no reason for sure to think that he's
because
the
Damian
way it was framed,
so bored in school. He's not going to take any of these tests seriously because he knows all the stuff.
It's not even that. I think there's more to it. He's not. The Batman will fudge things. He's not. Damian is not allowed to do well in school because that would put a signal on him for people to bother and go with that. I think it's always been a thing of he's not allowed to be good at school.
I think he wants Damon to excel in school.
No, why? Right now he's already said he's Robin. That's what he's doing. It's not like he's going to go, and if he wanted to get into Harvard, I think Bruce Wayne could get him into Harvard. I don't think, and also excel at school. The kid's gone to school.
What is he, Lori Loughlin?
The kid's gone to school for 3 weeks out of his whole life. He doesn't. The school, Batman didn't even want him to go to school. He was telling him at one point to go, that he couldn't, that he can. These grades, I think that what he's saying is,
for all intents and purposes, it looks like Damian is unremarkable.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. It's made to look like he's unremarkable because I think that what he's saying is nobody would ever say oh, we got to have him do this or we got to do that. That's how he wants it. He doesn't want any extraneous things of a guy saying, oh my God, Damian's grades are so great. We want him to study in France. And then that would cause a problem and whatever. So they just make it so, listen, you go, the grades are fudged. They just don't do anything. And he's bored, like you said.
I see it more of a Damian thing.
Well, you see it's a Damian thing. You really think that Damian's bored, that if he took a test, he's going to be bored to not do, he knows all, he's bored because he knows it. They'd give him the test, he'd get 100. His grades would be great.
If he took it.
Well, I'm saying he would, you can't just go to school and say, I'm not taking a test.
I've done that.
Well, you did and you failed. And then you wouldn't be in school. There's no way. Then
was in school.
Then you're saying about Bruce, what you'd fail, you'd flunk out. Yeah, I think Damian's not going to say, I'm not taking the test, teach. Fuck you.
I've told the teacher, this is beneath me, I'm not doing this.
Well, then, I mean, seriously, you're an asshole then. You're in school then. Then fucking quit and go get a fucking job. The idea that he's doing this, and yeah, you did. Well, fucking whatever that. I mean, the idea that you're at school and I'm not taking a test that's below me.
It was.
Below you. The deal is, I don't think that Batman's like, yeah, and then I looked into it and his grades are shitty, but I don't care because you just said you want him to excel. So I think Damian would take the test and normally would get 100 so he can gloat at everybody that he's too smart. And Batman's making him not do that. I think it's set up. He can't have a kid who's 4.0 grade point average, all the deal, and expect nobody to take notice of, hey, this guy's the greatest, thing. I think that's all a ploy by Batman. But even if it isn't, it's still, it's weird how he phrases it. If you didn't know Damian, you would think that he's a dummy. But yeah, a hot mic.
Yeah, that's the worst part of this issue in my mind.
Yeah, and just this idea. And then
because it's just that constant trope that you have where people will mishear the wrong things at the wrong time before they turn off the mic or hang up the phone or whatever it is, and then you hear the good parts that they want to say.
Yeah, I can't wait till Stork hears that about that test. Wait. It really, though, that would be I don't know. It would be like me going and I'm on a hockey
team. I would get
team.
up in class and leave half the time and go to another class.
Look, I wasn't your teacher.
Yeah.
I'd give you the detentions. Actually,
I had detention all the time.
I'd just expel you. I'd just kick you out. Is what would
shit,
happen
you have that
now.
power?
Yeah, I think people do. I would say he walked out. That I'm telling you right now, if you went to school now, you wouldn't be in school. They can't do shit. Somebody yells at somebody, the cops are there, and you're getting arrested. But the idea of all this is Damian then turns off the comms. He does go back, and when Bruce is there thinking of Alfred, I think that he's like, man, this would have been a good time for a cucumber sandwich, because he's there and he's all messed up. But he goes back, and the things are kind of, he's working the poppy out of his system. And then Damien comes in with the stupid monkey, and Bruce is like, what's up with that monkey? And he says, hey, by the way, I found it in the laboratory, Lautrec.
I haven't named it yet.
And that. Yeah, I haven't named it yet. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be Lautrec?
No, I don't think it's going to be Lautrec. But the thing is, it goes along the lines of,
I think Lautrec's going to get killed. I think Lautrec's going to get killed next issue. She knows too much. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to look into things, but maybe Bruce might kill her. Like on the side, like this lady knows too much. I think that Memento might kill her, and he'll call her Lautrec. But weird name. But you end up where he says, I'm running blood work and things. It looks like the monkey had the same deal. Lautrec got hurt, whatever. But by the way, and says it in a way, and I like how Damien throws shade, because he's going to make sure that Batman at one point
knows that I heard.
That's the thing. Batman's probably like wondering, how the fuck does he know that? Right away, it'd be funny. He gets up and he's like, okay, get me Jason. I put him to call Jason. You motherfucker, what did you tell him? But yeah, he ends up Dr. Bashar. He does see value in me, and that is true. That's what I like, that Damien took this as. It's not just because it's underhand and things like that. Now, if it does end up that he's part of the deal, that will make me laugh. But he says, I work hard and I'm in the youth program and things like that. And I want to be at the hospital where Thomas Wayne. And it's funny, he doesn't even say like where your father or my grandfather worked. He's like really.
He's been doing this the whole time.
I'm telling you, he's really pissed about it and seems to distance the deal, and then says, then I'm going to do what you couldn't. I'm going to catch Memento. And it's like everything. Then after that, I'm going to kill the Joker. And then after that, I don't want to
be Robin anymore.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't want to be Robin anymore. And again, we've seen this before recently, somewhat recently.
Hey, we got a badass new costume out of it.
Yeah, he's got that. So, and Batman looks like, what? I love the look of Batman. It doesn't look like the look of, oh my goodness, I'm upset. I still think he's like, I still think he's like, what the fuck?
That's what I take it
as. He's like, rewind that. What did you say about Bashar? Like, what
I'm
the
the world's greatest detective. There was only one other person that I was talking to. Jason?
He's there. And as he's
Tony, he becomes Mr. Spacely yelling Jetson.
It would be Jason. He's so mad. And he's like, this is why Jason's just a scapegoat of everything. And then all of a sudden, actually, he's sitting there.
Getting on that painting, Jason.
There. And then, as they're just sitting there, standing or whatever, Tim Drake's like, "Hey, Batman! Oh shit, my com's been open all this time." And I actually said my whole play is. He says, "I don't want to be Robin anymore." Now he says after that, but again, that's almost like 2 weeks' notice, right? Sometimes you're like, "Fuck that, get out of here."
Get the job done. I'm out.
There's somehow, somewhere. Tim Drake has it beeping right now. Oh, I'm going to be back to being Robin again, because every time this is what happened last time. Tim Drake right into the deal. And then Batman's just like, fuck it, where were you when I was in that multiverse?
The understudy.
Yeah, he's like, multiverse, Tim Drake saved my ass, not you. Get out of here.
Get out of the multiverse. And everybody's like, oh, Batman's dead. Tim Drake didn't believe that. He was setting shit up to go back in time and try to find Bruce Wayne.
Tim
Drake is the real stuff. And it's one of the weird things, because even at the point where, Tim Drake's father died in an identity crisis. At that point in time, he was adopted by Bruce Wayne. And for a time when DC Comics was going by Tim Wayne. And it's weird that we've gotten away from that, because it's just, maybe you just don't want to call him Tim Wayne. Even the idea where, Dick Grayson was adopted by, them as well, but still went by Grayson. But when Bruce was away, Tim Wayne was in charge of Wayne Enterprise and was taking the company money off in the search of Batman.
It's so great. They're sitting around and with the Harvey moments and all this stuff. And then they're like, well, what are you upset about, Tim? And he's like, he just owned me. And I'm Tim Drake again.
Essentially.
And then Jason's like, that's bad, but he made me dye my damn hair to look like...
Look, and that didn't happen either. I don't care what anybody says. But the idea, though, as far as I'm concerned, we can blame the New 52 for reinventing Tim Drake's backstory and then doing nothing with it to bring it into continuity once again. But the idea where he became Robin, his family was put in danger by the Penguin, and they were put in witness protection program where he went off and decided to have assumed the name of Tim Drake and become Red Robin.
Yeah, the Drake. Still one of my best tweets I've ever had, Eric. I was so proud of it when they ended up where Tim was Drake. And I said the only reason was because they wanted to have Drake, so then Damien could go by Little Wayne. And it flew up, Eric. It was the best. But in this whole thing, though, Philip Kennedy Johnson has gone on record and says in interviews that he looks at Batman like he really does look at Batman as the guy who thinks the Robins are his soldiers and thinks of them and that has been a play a bunch of times. But the thing is, it's a weird thing that I'm going to say here. Very weird. Damian, we worry about people not progressing. The idea of going back to being Damian, and I think that
Jason Todd,
and while we thought at the beginning,
and Tim Drake,
the weird thing, and Dick Grayson, but you end up where at the beginning of the series, the first issue, we were worried that possibly Damian was not being written well. It was regressing Damian. I think it might be Batman that is like going to that trope of. So I think he is in that mode of they're my soldiers. Now, he does end up, when the mic goes off...
They're my soldiers, but you'll have expectations of your son as well. Especially because the way he sees it, Damian came to Gotham to be Batman. This is who he thought his son was this entire time. For him to walk away from it is really odd thing for him.
It is funny, though, to think of the idea, and he's talking to Jason, he's yelling about it, and I think that he's pissed off what Jason said about some things, too. But he ends up where he's saying, and then he's under the influence of the poppy, the goofballs. But if you go down that speech of his that he's yelling and stuff about Damian, boy, you can say that in so many different ways. You know what I mean? Like the idea is like start with Damian's awesome. He could do anything, but I'm worried that the Al Ghul deal, he can never escape it no matter how hard he tries. And he's so good
son of a bitch.
He's trying so hard to escape this, but they always try to pull him back because of that, and I want him to be his own person.
I don't even know what we're doing with the League of Assassins anymore, because even the idea of like bringing them back into the Al Ghul fold, granddaddy, he dead and haunting his girlfriend, but nobody knows about that shit. Yeah, Talia, I have no idea what she's doing.
Somebody knows about
the League of Shadows stuff against unburied fuckers.
Ghost Ra's al Ghul, he's in charge. That's the thing. At this point, it is very convoluted. Even when Nissa shows
the League of Shadows, I don't even think has any money anymore to be the League of Assassins.
They're so poor they can't afford a shadow. Is that something, Eric? I think
they don't even have their prison country anymore, where they're forced to stay in and nobody else can come in.
I was yelling about that to a guy today. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Kadeem.
I had to look it up, and I'm like, Kadeem. I always mess it up. But this guy was saying that Tom King always follows all the rules in his stories and never goes against them 2 issues later. I'm like, oh, really? And the guy didn't know what I was talking about anyway.
Of course he didn't.
Talking about a brick wall. But at this point, there is a deal. Now, this is being played of a Damian who wants to do good. I don't think that if Bashar ended up saying, by the way, I hope you're not mad, but I am here from the League of Assassins. And I kind of, I don't think that's going to happen anyway. But we're primed for a story for Damian to get really upset and actually go and try to lead the League of Assassins, because they're in disarray. You said that who knows what's going on with them, or the League of Shadows, or whatever the league they're doing now. At one point, remember, we were so upset, League of Lazarus. Remember, you were so upset they were league this, league that. Oh my goodness! But it is kind of the prime deal. And at one point, he was going to be the big villain of the 5G sub. I love Damian.
Well, every time we see in the future, anything even like with a Batman Beyond, he's the head of the demon at that point in time. He's taken over for Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul. But I am really primed for the idea of, I don't expect Damian to, let's say, Robin no more forever. But I do like the idea that he is getting some forward progress in the idea of being Damian Wayne and not Robin for the first time in forever.
Yeah, it's a weird play. Like, what do you get then? I guess, you still have the book and whatnot, but it kind of lessens it a bit, I think,
we got
for
so
some
many
people.
Robins.
Yeah.
We got 2 in this one, a Red Hood and a Robin.
I'm telling you, Jarro comes back. You got them all. Rob Zorro, he's in. You got everybody, Eric. Now,
let's hope he was killed during the end of the multiverse during the Metal Wars.
Yeah, and again, Damian could be upset too, because you have Cass running around calling Batman Daddy. Everybody's calling him Daddy. So, but yeah, I didn't.
I'd call him Daddy if I think I could get something out of it.
I don't think I quite lost my mind. It's just the idea that I just didn't like the way the Batman's thoughts. But again, you said I didn't even think of the poppy, but it didn't play it out like that either. I did like seeing him with Jason, but even Jason at one point, kind of gives a dig of that's why me and you are so fucked up, things like that. I love seeing Jason do things.
So do I.
And we talk about it in the whole deal, and it's brothers where I say hate. It's brother hate. Damian does not really get along with Jason Todd. And I always say it's because they're very similar and they're have some things, whatever. But I do think that he might be the one that eventually he would listen to the most because of the problems that he ended up having. Like Dick Grayson can say all it is, and Dick's Dick, right? Dick is great. I love Dick, Eric. But the idea where you can just go back at Dick Grayson and he says, well, you do this and like, you're like the promised child. Like you got everything. You're the first one. You end up, everybody thinks you're great. They'll go there. But I think Jason's one that'll listen to even Tim Drake. But that's the thing. I think he doesn't get along with Jason. I don't think he has any relationship with Tim at all.
No, he doesn't like Tim Drake because he replaced Tim Drake and saw him as the lesser Robin.
It seems like it's even more than just like almost like he's not even anything to him. Like I don't think he has a hate. It's just like whatever. You never see him hanging or whatever. It's always with that Dick Grayson. What a sexy.
They were Batman and Robin together.
What
of course,
sexy fella. Yeah. So and I mean, Batman has the deal. He said he came here to be Batman eventually and whatnot. So. But we'll see how this works out. I do think that there's a lot going on. I think the most interesting thing is not Memento. It's definitely Damian and Batman and stuff, and even Jason being here. I like
which
that
is the
talk,
best
whatever.
because I don't want the villain to outshine our hero, which is the Batman and Robin book, and he's definitely not.
But the thing is, I think that we're probably going to be done with this villain before it ever shines at all. It really has gotten convoluted, and I think that it's going to end up. It was just backdrop, but that's kind of a weird thing that happened with Joshua Williamson, where we just didn't take anything seriously because you got, Zaz, kid goalie. You end up with,
man back cold.
Like things just happen. And it was always kind of like, that's
Mistress
just
harsh.
there. Yeah, jeez. So, but I still like this series. This issue doesn't really, but I thought it was a little bit down overall for the concept of it. It was a little forced with the comms, but what would you give it?
I think I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I didn't mind Javi Fernandez's art this issue. I thought it actually worked with the whole Gravedigger Poppy experiment that we had going on. But the worst part of the issue overall was just the open mic that Damian hears the wrong thing at the wrong time, doesn't hear the good stuff when Batman needs him to hear the good stuff, and it just as a means to propel our story into a downward spiral where we get a Robin no more. It's just one of those tropes that you see all the time, kind of roll your eyes at when you do see it, though. But besides that, enjoy this issue. I have been enjoying the series overall.
I didn't enjoy it, and I thought the art was pretty bad. And the Poppy deal, it's like 1-2 panels. The rest of it is it's me not even understanding the choreography of a fight scene between that. You don't need to see it, but also then you have rain on top of it, and it just looked like a mess to me. But yeah, you see him him looking at as a sexy Robin. Like he's like a Chippendale with that shirt ripped like that and dancing around he is with that crowbar. But then when you go, we even said it was very like even in the Scarecrow deal, like it was a muddy mess. I thought I just don't like his art. But yeah, I'm a 5.5. But we'll go off now. We'll go off to a Dark Patterns book that me and Tommy boy, we're talking about another book that I end up. I think that if I told you the concept of the serial killer type deal, you would think it's pretty cool. But what it ended up being pretty much exactly like the Green Arrow.
You told me what it is. All I thought about was Darkman.
Yeah. And even then, like the concept more of as they developed it and stuff. But really, it's the freshwater killer again. It's just somebody who ended up getting put in this town that they ended up, paying off people. They ended up having a problem with their nerves. And then this guy's trying to take revenge, but a weird deal. Weird deal. There's some wacky stuff going on, but people seem to like it more than me and Tommy. But we'll be going to that right about now.
The healing is when you die. It's the one who never bleeds. The wounded man is the one that we all need. The tension builds when you're all alone, 'cause nothing makes much sense. You're doing things you think are wrong, but there's no way to correct. The wounded man is the one who never lies. The wounded man is the one who cannot die. there's nothing you can do. You know it doesn't matter. And when he comes for you, all this will lead into this dark pattern. This dark pattern.
Ah, yes, here we are. Dark patterns. The funny thing about it is nothing did matter. It got that, but unfortunately, the wound man can bleed, and in fact can die.
Yeah.
There's some things that didn't quite work out in that song, but I am here with my man Tom. What up, Tom?
Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Okay, I think I called you Tommy or Thomas at one point last night while we were recording.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be a fun little surprise to listen to.
I ended up saying it. I was just being goofy. I'm like, I hope he doesn't mind that. I don't mind like certain things. It was weird, actually. I say that this week. I saw a guy that I graduated with that I hadn't seen in quite some time. And I always liked this guy. He was a nice guy. Played a lot of sports with it. One of the only guys that ever has called me Jimmy. That wasn't like an older person. I would be like what older people in my family would say, because my dad's name was Jim as well.
Okay,
and when he said it, it threw me off at first. And then I'm like, you know what? I never really did mind him saying, but nobody else would ever call me that. It was very, very odd. And then for his joke, because his name's Rick, I just started calling him Ricky, which I'd never said. And he didn't bat an eye. He was laughing at him, and he didn't even say anything. But I haven't seen this guy in like 20 years. This guy looked like a wreck. I hope he's not listening. But I end up where I'm like, man, I'm not in the greatest of shape. And then I see these people I graduated with. I'm like, holy moly. Like, maybe I am in better shape than I thought. But this guy was a nice guy. He's just doing that. But it just threw me off. But I think I might call you Tommy. I can't remember what.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. But here we are. And speaking of Dark Patterns, which we are doing the Batman Dark Patterns number 3. We had been criticized a bit that we were overly harsh. In the Slack chat, some people had said at one point, you even messaged me after our first review, like, man, they're ripping us apart.
Yeah.
Like, they're really going. And so with that, maybe we were a bit critical, a little more nitpicking in the first couple of things. And we said throughout, we couldn't help ourselves. We did like some things in the story. It's just that the overall story just wasn't jiving with us, especially because everything involved, there's a lot of pieces in this puzzle here. We never could remember one of them, and that's a problem. I mean, we're here to talk about things and names and concepts. And is this guy good, bad? It all was swirling around. And then after last issue, we said one of the big things, because remember, I actually realized, oh, this is just a 3-issue story. And then we started a new one, and I said, there's no way that this is going to tie up in any sort of, great way, because there was just too much going on. Too many things that were ambiguous and things like that. And lo and behold, I mean, I hate to say that we were right. I mean, this is a wreck.
I don't know about you, but I think I can be overly critical of things when I want them to be good. And I think there's good things there, which I think the first 2 issues had. This one, I think you'll agree with me, rushes. It somehow fits everything into this last issue without being exciting or interesting at all.
Yeah. And so I think that one of the big problems with this is you have 4 3-issue stories. Maybe that was a bad idea. I mean, I think that, and here's the props I'll give Dan Waters. I think that the idea of this Wound Man could have been a 6-issue story and could have developed more and could have been something great. But by the end, I mean, I'm telling you, my big critique of this is going to be that most of the things that happen here, if Batman was not involved, nothing would have changed. It all would have played out the same way. I know that it's one of those things, the hero doesn't always have to, have the save the day type of deal, but you got to do something.
I mean, I don't mind. There are a lot of really great issues of Batman from, stuff under Denny O'Neil, like when Alan Grant was writing for Detective and Batman. There were a lot of issues where it kind of didn't feel like Batman saved the day. It felt like the villain, but it didn't feel like the villain won either. It just kind of felt like it ended in a somber note. which this one has that feeling, but it also feels like Batman doesn't do anything with the villain this whole issue. He doesn't actually confront the villain at all in this issue.
No, and then what I think in 3 issues, the real big problem here, and I agree there's times, and here's the thing, I'll say it right now, this is 12 issues. So as these go on, we may get more of the theme and get more of that idea of a Batman who's trying but just can't do everything. But after this, I thought, and a lot of times I'll read these things and, well, what did he learn? What did he do? What does he think afterwards? And I have no idea, because with it, he's just, what I was going to say too is, I think Dan Waters has a problem here because he starts to change in this 3rd issue. And it was in the 2nd, I started seeing it as well. The idea of who is the villain? Who is the villain of the story? And there's not enough room to go with. And then it almost feels tropey or cliche to say, oh, well, this, and me and Eric, and really, if you want to go with also, this feels a lot like that Green Arrow story with the freshwater killer. It's almost the same thing about a corporation who ended up doing this. They end up paying these people off. They end up doing it. So they're bad. Yeah. But in the secondary deal, that there's never a good time, I think, that a serial killer is a hero. Whether or not, and again, all of a sudden we find about the wife to try to give you that, oh, well, I get it. No, I don't. You're a serial killer. There's other ways to do this. And unfortunately, sometimes those ways don't work, or you run into a brick wall, whatever the thing is. But this the wound man, I almost call him the hurt man.
The hurt man.
The hurt man. He wants to hurt. But even then, that gets pushed. It's so crazy, this last issue, to end up where, boy, you could have figured out a real different way to do it. And then these people who he's involved with, they're not even down with him. It gets all wacky, right?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I think I think my internet's not good. I think you cut out there for a second.
It's fine, but yeah, we'll get through this. You're actually on vacation.
Yeah, so I am. So,
you're calling from a hotel room, so we'll get through this. And I think this will be quicker than the other ones. I say that we said that last issue, and it's still an hour.
It was like an hour and 10 or something.
Yeah, so we'll get into this. And Batman's doing he's doing his detective work, but is he? Because a lot of the stuff going through is people telling him things or him stumbling on, but it doesn't lead to anything. No. It drives me nuts. But so Batman, he's still in that town, that outside outskirt town.
The town of Screams, as they call it. Well, I think we find out that it's what is it, Green Fields?
Yeah, Green Fields. They don't even go with this. Like everything's kind of like ditching. And then in this town, it seems like it's like almost like a, stuck at a time, but it's not.
That's a lot of weird art choices from Hayden Sherman, which I don't mind the style all the time, but it just kind of has this weird tone that he's establishing. I don't know.
Yeah, and I didn't give the credits. I should give the credits. Written by Dan Water, art by Hayden Sherman, colors by Triona Farrell, letters by Frank Vetkivaktovic. The worst with names. So yeah. So the idea is to make it feel like a noir deal. So it seems like 1940s, 1950s, but it's not, because there's cell phones and things like that. But then this town seems to be stuck in a time, but it's not. And me and you talked about the idea that this is on the outskirts of Gotham, and people like, what is it? The town that nobody knows? Is it one of these things that I tried to drive to the town and I drove 8 hours and I ended up doubling back and there's nothing like that. And they act like nobody's heard of this town. Nobody knows of these poor people who can't feel. Also, the idea in that, like, they just seem to want their kids to get the same things going wrong, because I'm guessing that these kids involved, they're drinking the water and sweat. Yeah, it's happening to them. So what are their pieces?
I don't know. I mean, that's the weird part, is like when it cuts to that panel of those kids playing around the Batmobile. It's like, what? This seems like very normal, but then it cuts again to these guys who just look mutilated.
Yeah. And Batman calls them out, like, hey, but, and I mean, I'm telling you, they're like guys that are like young toughs hanging outside the Five and Dime. Like, hey there, Batman, what do you think you're doing? And they're upset and think that Batman's going to ruin it, but they don't know what Batman could. I mean, he is there trying to catch a serial killer. Yeah, but they're just like right away is like, Batman must be here to change our lifestyle. And if you go to the authorities, they're going to end up making us go to suicide slum. Well, not suicide slums, but we're going to be in the Narrows, and we're going to be this, and we don't want to be. And Batman's just there, and he's like, hey, buddy, like your leg, it's all messed up. And he's like, yeah, what's it to you? And then the one guy, this
I love
dialogue
this one.
is awful. He says, this guy says, we've seen you on the TV. We know who you are. You're trying to ruin everything, just like Hartnell did. Now, at this point, seeing him on the TV, I would guess that he's probably portrayed as kind of bad. Batman himself, right? He would be like the vigilante, whatever. I'd be more like, get the hell out of here, don't hurt our kids or whatever. Yeah. But this guy thinks he's going. He goes, your leg. When did that happen? It hasn't healed properly. You shouldn't be able to use it. And then looks at this other guy. One of the worst things of dialogue I've read in a long time. And you're missing fingers. A culinary incident? Did you even notice you were cutting into your own flesh?
Yeah.
A culinary incident.
And that's all. I mean, those are the two weirdest fingers to be missing from a culinary incident.
And so the guy, like, I wanted the guy to go, no, I'm a big heavy metal guy. I like the devil horns. Because they are like, how are you cutting the two middle fingers?
I don't know.
And not cutting the others in a culinary incident?
He cut off them completely. There's no nubs or anything there.
Yeah, I love the idea. It's like a culinary incident. Did you even notice you were cut? Did you eat your fingers? Like that it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And Batman's saying this and then says, it's all of you. This whole town. You don't feel anything anymore. And then the big thing is we're blessed. And like we don't suffer anymore. We live in a beautiful place. Well, I think their eyes are affected as well. We live in a beautiful place and don't ever feel sick or tired. I can go with that. But then that's ridiculous. Then the other guy, though, says, hey, we have a community. That's where you go with. You go with the idea of why would, Batman, not culinary incidents, say, I'm trying to help you guys. You were wronged. Why do you want to be here? And then they could say, we have family here. And that's something that would hit with Batman right away. The idea of family and the idea of having people around you and helping you. Because he said, they could say, they treat us like freaks. Nobody knows what's going on. They ended up dissing us with not, taking down the people. And we don't want to be reminded of that. But we're a community here. We have a community of like people and we are not causing any harm. But in the meantime, it also looks like they're against showers. They're trying to it's Hayden Sherman's art is not great in this. I've criticized the Wound Man because it's not as detailed. But in this, it's like everything is like it's so in your face to like shove this idea. And I don't get it.
One of the problems, too, is that I think Hayden Sherman's weakest part is his faces. And a lot of these are just close-ups on people's faces.
They have, like, potato faces. Like, everybody, and then they have welts and shit on.
They look gross.
So, the idea of this, and then Dan Waters' script, it loses track of the idea that, first off, Batman should feel sorry for these people. And then they could say, like, we don't want you to feel sorry for us. We just want to be left alone. Like, that's, to me, could be a big thing of whether or not, like Batman, it should be Batman having this crisis in his head of thinking, these people should be avenged. They should be helped. They need medical assistance. But should I do it? Because they don't want it, number one. And they're right. The one guy's like, they'll experiment on us and stuff like that. And I want Batman to sit there and say, I want to help them, but it isn't my place. It's not right. Yeah. And I hope, and then at the end say, listen, if you guys run into any problem, I'm telling you. Because remember also, Bruce has some money, right? Like maybe the idea, because I'm telling you, they're saying this beautiful place, these houses are run down, maybe even say, I can give you some money, or all of a sudden he like leaves, hey, you lost your bag here, mister. And they, oh my God, he left us all this money. Something like that to help him out a little.
It's a little tropey, but I like the idea of at the end of this issue, seeing Bruce, because we really only see Batman in all three of these comics. I would like to see Bruce Wayne talking to someone about setting up some sort of, foundation or something for this town to do some sort of resolution. But Batman doesn't really do anything to address it.
And he yells at them almost like, he's, mad. Like, because again, I think that in my mind, as he's doing this, first off, he's not doing, this isn't detective work. He's just there. He is.
He's just trying to get to his car. It's like 4 pages of him just trying to get to the Batmobile.
And they're like, we don't feel anything anymore. Bet you do. And then he's mad because the guy's making a fit. And I'm like, now he's going to fight these guys. And usually you would have, and sometimes it's tropey that way, of like, I can't fight back. Like, I can. No, he slugs the one guy, but they can't feel it anyway. And then he goes with the idea that almost making these guys such a danger because they can't feel, And then, like, they're beating the crap out of him. I mean, at one point, I think that it's not him just not fighting back. These guys are just beating the crap out of him. And then they get stopped by this lady. And then she comes to preach to them. And she's like the one good lady in town to say. But the big thing is they think that the Wound Man ruined it for him because now all this attention, whatever. But did he? I mean, I don't even know how they would even know because of the idea that they're. And then this is the lady that, like, there's the sign, Wound Man, heal us. But they don't like the woman. It's all convoluted.
And she painted that on the side. Okay, and did you find this dialogue really weird when he says, "You're the one who painted the Wound Man, on the side of the surgery"? Have you ever heard of, like, boards on a house being called surgery?
And the side of the surgery,
like
is that she
typo
the doctor
or something? I don't know.
And that's the thing. I think that again they're trying to get a noir feel, and that might be some sort of that phrase. But
maybe
it threw me off. I didn't know what the hell he was talking. Oh, that thing. But why would they let her do that? Because they hate the Wound Man. And then the one guy, of course, is like, "You're a kindergarten teacher." Oh god.
So. Here is my big problem with this scene is that this is the last issue of the arc. We end the last issue with, like, a real sense of urgency. The Wound Man has escaped. We're kind of confronted with this new potential, background villain of Sionis. Batman has finally discovered who this potentially is and the root of it is. And then we slow everything to a grind for 6 I counted it. It's 6 pages of him of them dialoguing outside of Gotham suburbia next to the Batmobile about just nothing. It's Dan Waters either inserting some sort of political messaging kind of thing or doing his waxing poetic Batman diatribes, and it lost all the momentum the last issue had.
What here's you get the idea that we knew this. We said it right away. There's gonna be this town's gonna end up where it was. This is where they shipped them because of this, but that's where they moved in and all this bad water and all this stuff, whatever. Even then, the weird play is that they did say that this was where they dumped all the stuff, right? And then the one guy's like, "Yeah, I lived in the Narrows and I came here, but did you leave and then come back?" It's all of, but I hate to say the word signaling, but it's the idea of these people aren't bad. They've just been hurt and they end up with it, but that's fine. But then when you get the opposite deal of, "Oh my God, this lady's like the Wound Man. He's a good man." I'm like, no, he isn't anymore. Yeah. I hate to say this, and this is what me and Eric argued about in the Green Arrow deal. A good man, yeah. The idea, Joker, one bad day, right?
Yeah,
he's not a good man.
Right.
You can't just sit there for the rest of the time saying, "Well, he was wronged. Oh, he did have problems. Oh, he did this." No, he ended up where, again, what usually is the idea of where these people go. And Batman had a really bad day, and he became Batman, and that's what he did. And yet, you don't even feel like that juxtaposition of the deal. And then when he's here again, detective work is this lady saying he's a good man after what happened to his wife.
Right.
And he's like, "What? I thought Batman, wait a minute," gets out his notebook. "Wife, would you tell me more? Get this." And she's like, "Oh, the wife." And the big story of this whole play is that this Wound Man, everybody's losing their nerve endings. They don't feel anything. And this guy's wife fell asleep. And ended up the house burned down. And again, I'm like, well, you should have put out the fire there, lady. But and she couldn't feel anything, and her flesh was melting. I'm like, that's all terrible. That'd be the worst thing to have happen. Come back, but that doesn't make being a serial killer the right thing.
Well, and I mean, and that's the problem too, is that it's not just that he's going after the people responsible for the cryoxin getting into the thing. He just started going at I lost the plot, I guess, because he just went after anyone he thought was feeling lost. I don't know. Like, that's the other weird thing. I understand his motives for going after the other people, But I don't understand, other than him going insane, I don't understand how we get from that to going after these random people who have experienced loss.
And it's the idea now in that, if you did play, again, there's only 3 issues, and in this you have all those pages where he's hanging out in Screamville. But the play would be, to me, is there you'd have the wounded man or the wound man, and he would end up like, what did it feel like when your wife died? And then the guy, oh, it was the worst. I cried. You cried. Like he wants to live through them because he couldn't feel. But even then, the problem is, you're not feeling that. Like, it would be like me saying, like, oh, I've never been to Disney. How is it? Oh, it's great. It's not like I still want to go to Disney then. Like, it's not going to be that. So with that, it's like the concept, I think, of this wound man, it seems really neat. A guy who can't feel that wants to make people feel and be over, but it got convoluted. It got very convoluted.
It's very convoluted. And maybe I don't get it, but it just seems weird to make a leap of him being upset he can't feel pain, and then going to others who are in pain and making them feel more pain than they already are.
Yeah. And then convolute it more because some are more connected with the thing that caused it, some aren't. So you wonder, like, why did you get put in that Batman? He had the list and could figure out where he was going. And some of these are like really odd choice. Like you would think that Sionis, that's who you want to go for. And and then when you do that, and he does say he's a doctor at this point, well, why isn't he going? And he's figured out a way, like he's going to sever all these different things so Sionis ends up like him, that he can't feel, that he can't, whatever, but never does that. And actually gets, caught by Sionis because of plot point reasons, Gordon ended up telling him where the wound man was. And maybe he'll come up and we wonder, but formaldehyde huffing doctor, he's just in a bed.
Oh, he's down.
He's done. And, you're like, that didn't turn into anything at all. And so, and that's what a lot of this, like you said, as we started, a lot of this book ends up, well, that does kind of tie things up. But it's nothing. It's nothing at all. And so one of the funny things is when Sionis is there and he has his guys and he's like, hey, you're causing me problems. I'm going to do this again. I don't know why, Sionis in my mind, this guy, you should just, throw him in the bay. Just get done. I don't feel like he has a personal vendetta.
Right, yeah, Sionis. I don't know why he's got him tied up. And
Sionis would have I don't even know who the hell you are. You're a joke, but he's interested, but he gets that rebar. And he's like, I wonder what happens. And to end up again having to spell out all these adjacent to such major organs. I'm like, that's a weird line for just a gangster.
A lot of these people are saying very weird lines that normal people would never say.
A gangster is going to be like, hey, what the hell are you stabbing yourself with? And I'm going to see what the hell's going on there. But he says, on the plus side, you've made it nice and easy for us, haven't you? All of these adjacent to such major organs. No, he's got rebar right through his body. Yeah. It doesn't matter where it is. Batman couldn't punch him, he said, because it was adjacent. And I kept saying, just pull it out. And then he pulls it out here and he's like, oh, you bleed. Well, yeah. And then he just bleeds like he just opened, some apple cider. Like, he's still bleeding. Yeah. And again, isn't one of the things that would have been crazy is that Sionis did, I don't know, I guess you can't do anything, but it'd be a crazy thing that at the end, Sionis does something that he actually feels, like somewhere on him and something. And then you have like the classic, thank you. Yeah. Where this one man, that's all he wanted. Because you're getting the idea that all he wants to do, this is why he stuck all these things in. It's the idea in my mind of a spike here, didn't feel it. That sucks. Here, I'll try here and here. And boom, 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 pins and needles and nails. And nothing would work. He couldn't feel anything. It would be crazy if Sionis somehow hit something or did something that he could feel. But it doesn't happen. Yeah. Because he's bleeding out and lo and behold, he dies. Yeah, then these other guys are fighting him and shooting him, and then he's going to kill them.
Because he breaks free, but somehow he breaks free of these ties that he's tied to a chair, but somehow he wasn't able to break free from just a single handcuff in the doctor's office. And then these guys are just unloading bullets at him. I wouldn't think that this guy is the most agile person with all these rods in him. But I guess he dodges all of them and then takes down these two
That's
thugs.
the weird thing. Batman goes with the thing, and it doesn't make sense. Dan Waters, I think, is completely off. The idea with these guys in that town, they can't feel, so they can overpower them. They're still, and then says, it's like a lady whose kid gets trapped under a car and able to pick up the car. It's not quite like that. It's not nothing like that. That's not
it's not an adrenaline.
It's not an adrenaline rush.
But this is just, this is...
A feat of strength like that is an adrenaline rush, and they're like, oh my God, everything gets fine. You go, not feeling things because, no.
I mean, there are a lot of people who actually have a very similar condition where they can't feel things, and they're very susceptible to lots of different issues.
Well, that's what happens.
Not being able to do whatever.
And to tell people, I mean, one of the things just as simple as it's not even like diabetes. What happens a lot of times is they lose feeling in their extremities. You know, your fingers. And what happens is you're walking, in your house and you cut your foot.
Yeah.
You don't know you cut your foot.
Right.
And then it gets gangrene and it's infected. That's a big problem with them. It's not like all of a sudden that diabetes is their superpower and they're going and karate kicking people and saving the day. I mean, and this, again, what you said about the idea of the cuffs. Why couldn't he break out of these bindings 2 seconds ago?
Yeah,
He's there and he just breaks out, and then they unload on him and he like ducks behind things and whatnot. And it's just ridiculous. It ends up being ridiculous. And then in the meantime, we go to another scene, but in the meantime, it looks like Sionis kills his guys so that he could set up this, oh my God, this guy attacked me or whatnot. Seemed a little extreme because it doesn't matter anyway. Sionis just keeps getting out of the stuff. But in the meantime, Batman goes to Gordon. Hey, what's up with the doctor? Oh, here he is in this hospital bed. They beat him up. Why did you tell them where he was? Idiot Gordon. And he's like, well, I had to.
Yeah, I wish Gordon had said a little bit back to him, like, why would you leave this guy with the doctor?
And go through all these things of like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Because if he does say, oh, well, what were you doing? Well, I went to that outskirts, Screamtown.
And you'll never believe what I figured out.
and in the meantime, I think that, so what did you solve? What did you end up doing? Is the kid? Oh, I really didn't do anything. Yeah. I got the shit kicked out of me, and then a lady told me about a wife. I'm like, all right, so you did nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would really like for Batman to be like, hey, I don't know if you got my message, but it's Sionis. And he's like, no, I told you that, Batman.
Yeah, we knew this already. Yeah. We knew this. And like, oh, crap. And why'd you tell him? Well, it's that crazy deal of the Gordon who did switch between things and whatever. But the idea of like, hey, Gordon, I want you to tell where this wound man is to this random Sionis guy, Ace Chemicals gangster. Like, really? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to not arrest the guy, but then, now he's fully in the investigation. I want you to tell him where he is. He's curious, this guy. So you end up, and again, that's such a surface level corrupt, quote unquote corrupt GCPD. Doesn't make much sense. But again, Batman going. Now, Batman, because he found out that this guy's wife died, all of a sudden this guy is like the greatest thing ever. This wound man where he goes to me, he's like caressing him. Don't worry about this. And there's Sionis comes down. I heard you come in, and man, there's this guy broke in and he was attacking, whatever. And then Batman says, none of that happened. None of it. And then Sionis goes, yeah, but whatever, because they're not going to do anything. Yeah. This guy, that's 5 people he's killed now. And then Batman says, and this is where I want to be in the book. I want to be in this comic one, and I just want, maybe I'm the Robin. I'm just sitting there. And Batman, because I don't want to be Sionis, but he's like, did you know about his wife? And I want somebody to say, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
First off, the guy's dead. He's dying.
The guy's dead. He's killed people. Oh, what a fucking
yeah. And he's like, did you know about his wife? And then who? His wife's name was Amber.
Yeah.
No, this guy and that lady too, again, and this is where I'm not saying that corporations should get away with things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you become a serial killer. There's other, methods and whatever, and you still may run into, unfortunately, corrupt deal and whatever. But the idea of this is you can't be a bad, you don't want, it becomes the thing where Batman always says it when he's talking to Jason Todd, when he's talking to him in criminal. you end up being worse than them. Don't be like them. You're doing something now. You're the villain, and that's now he's. It seems lately everybody's like they're the real heroes, the people who end up taking it to the streets and want to murder people.
I will say, at least Batman said that like there's a cell in Arkham waiting for this guy earlier to the one lady. So he's not. I don't think he's as condoning of this guy's actions as Green Arrow.
Because at this point, I'm guessing that Batman is actually like he's going to get help, even though we know that Arkham is a shithole. Like, it's really bad. So, like the idea, it's almost like, oh, he'll get his plan. I think Batman's like, no, there's a cell. But he does say cell. It's not like we're going to get him the help. But guy did need some help. And also, like in Arkham, what would they like? You couldn't possibly take all these rods.
I don't know.
It's a crazy deal.
Yeah.
But he said he goes through the deal that he found out by the lady. Hartnell was working late, reaching out to whoever he could, trying to get the word out about Greenfields. She fell asleep in front of the TV. They didn't feel the cold anymore. But she had to, like, this tale of woe goes on.
Oh, I know. It's
like,
this weird page. It's this weird page of Batman's face just talking about her burning to death. And it's just like, why is this the thing that you're talking about to Sionis?
Yeah. Where is he going to again, this guy, the Wound Man, had killed. And one of the things that I think you could have had that would have meant a little more to me is the idea that, Sionis is like, what do I care about this Wound Man?
Right.
And then Batman could say, like, he has a name. This is his name. Something like that. But it ends up where in this, it's like Batman's so confused about who's the bad guy and whatnot. But then at the end, he probably just like, screw it. Nothing he did changed anything, really. And then at the end, the weird play is he's then with Sionis, and Batman can't kill. So what he's going to do is he's going to hurt this guy's shoulder.
Yeah.
So that, like, just imagine, like, that's how Batman ends this with this gangster, guy, Ace Chemicals. The idea of saying, I'm going to make your shoulder fucked up so that every time it feels bad, you'll think of me and the Wound Man. I'm like, that's a weird way to end something. And also, you're a dick. I have both of us were talking before. We both have bad shoulders.
Yeah.
It's fine. But even then, it like, that doesn't play. That plays more of when he's like, there's fires burning all around Gotham right now, which is true. But there's one fire that I just put, and it's in his shoulder. I'm like, maybe the idea is like, do this and say to him, later on, you'll wish that you didn't feel like these people,
right?
What you made, the horror that you made them, you'll wish for. But it doesn't even connect.
Well, it's just weird because I guess I don't understand what this Batman is that Dan Watters is writing, because I would think Batman would now be obsessed with taking Sionis down because he couldn't find a way to do it. So now he's going to be on his case, but instead he's just like, well, I'll maim him a little bit. And so everything's resolved now. Yeah, everything's perfect.
I like that he does this. And, the Wound Man, dead. The serial killer, insane, dead, though. But tons of other people dead, right?
Yeah.
You end up where he got beat up by these guys in Screamtown.
Yeah.
All that. And he walks out at the end like a badass. Like, he thinks that he's a badass.
Right.
Like, as he walks out, he's like, I solved this. Like, case closed. Like, case closed because he's dead.
Yeah.
That's the deal. You did nothing in this. And maybe that's the play. I mean, we do have, and it's a weird idea, but I think the play of this might be that Batman can't really change anything. And he can maybe maim this guy so he hurts a little, but there's never going to be justice. Because remember, some of these things in this book are kids doing crazy things in the train. And he just kind of, whatever. Then, that building's on fire.
Yeah.
I wonder if the kids did it. Well, insurance will take care of that. And it feels like, this might be the motif of it. I don't like it. I don't like
either,
the idea
because
of a story about Batman not doing anything. Behind.
What's the? I mean, I guess what's the point of a Batman story if he's not coming out on top? And I don't know. Maybe he
will by the end.
Maybe by the 12 issues end it will be. But as of right now, it's looking like and I don't know. We were talking. I don't know what characters are going to transfer over into the next arcs. I don't know if Sionis is going to. I don't know if the Doctor,
big thing
right? Yeah. So maybe he's going to keep going after. But from right here, it seems like Dan Watters is writing a hopeless Batman tale Batman seems okay with being hopeless about it, and that's just going to continue each arc.
And when you said it even when you said, and people might have wondered, like the political deal of it, but some of the politics of this, it's basic bitch. It's surface level of the rich do this, and not even the rich. It's like the people in control. They can do that and get away with it, and then the poor people here, but they don't think that it's bad because they're. But everything gets convoluted, and at the end, it's so kind of surface level that there's never, like, to me, that aha moment of, oh, I get it, that's clever, and you're doing this. By the end, it ends up like, okay, well, you're sacrificing a lot of Batman to get to this, and Batman seems to be ping-ponging, and people, and I saw some reviews, and this got great reviews, and it did all along, but again, I don't know where people are going to be like, well, you cannot like a issue, even if you like the first two, but I think these people get stuck in their deal. But the idea where most of the reviews is, this is refreshing, because Batman did detective work. We don't see detective work. What detective? He ends up one of the big plays by the end is a lady just tells him the story about the wife. He did not dig that up. And remember, one of the biggest things was he found the notebook of the list of the people who were going to be killed. He didn't even, and that was him smashing open a deal, and like nothing was him figuring out something where I thought, oh my God, that was clever. Oh my God, he used that. He did that. It was always him just, he broke into this and found a notebook. He ended up where nothing.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about this a lot last issue when he was talking to the reporter who broke the case open for him.
I forgot about that guy. That guy he's the detective. It's the guy who's writing for the National Enquirer now. Yeah. And again, that poor guy, he ended up losing because he was on the case of this and everything with this. And then nobody remembers. But it's true. That guy just gave him exposition of everything.
It's what it feels like is Batman. It feels like Dan Watters doesn't quite know how to tell a detective story, where Batman does discover clues or is told clues, but he doesn't do any of the analyzing himself. Everything is put together for him by other people or other things.
And I said, when you get somebody like a Brubaker who can write, you realize how it's done. And I also said one of the things that I think is really good is Gotham Central. Yeah. Where you have things in there. And at the end, when you do reveal, oh my God, this was the killer or that was the thing, you end up like, holy crap, like that makes total sense. Yeah. And the best way to write these things is something that makes total sense that you didn't even see. But but it's not giving info. And I said one of the things that I think, and in 3 issues you can't do it, but one of the things is going false leads. And finding out, like somebody says, oh my God, I think it's that. And the Gotham Central, their first big arc deal, it involves a lot of, like, okay, we think it's this person. We think it's a homeless guy in the park. And they go and try to figure it out. And then all of a sudden something happens or they figure out, oh, it can't be that. And they're upset because they wasted time, all that deal. But that's how it is. You know, if it's easy as just walking to a place and somebody telling you something, I mean, every crime would be solved. But you have a lot of things there, and it just ends up just not like nothing. Like even times when you'll be like, oh, well, I found the dirt, and that dirt had silicone in it, which only is here. And you never get anything like that here. It's you go to a place, he figures out who to go to for them just to tell him everything, right? Yeah. So he goes to see it. But even the guy, I'm going to go talk to Harry, the reporter, whatever his name was, only because he thought, well, he knows shit, and goes and lo and behold, the guy right there pulls out the file.
Yeah, I've been keeping this
it's right there
the whole time.
It's not even like, hey, come back 2 days from now. Like one of the classics would be, listen, I did a lot of things. I got to go to my storage deal. I go there, and then the guy gets killed. Right. And then you don't go like that sort of thing. But it's not, right here. It's right here, Batman. I use it as a paperweight. Where's all the info?
I mean, that is what's hard here is that Dan Watters has 3 issues to do this.
It's a bad idea.
And I think, he either needs to buy a little bit more into the detective stuff or leave a little bit of that away and focus on other things. I'm not sure. I mean, 3 issues is, to his credit, I think that's a hard thing to be able to tell a story in.
I think the worst was like when you had those DC events and you had 2 issues. You do need that middle issue. Yeah. But this story, the best I can say is this story deserved more issues. It's a real interesting idea. The villain is crazy, all this stuff. But then at the end, you're just like, okay, I'm just rushing to the end to get it done. And maybe, again, you said we can have characters go over, but maybe at the end it was like left open, like, okay, I figured this out, but whatever. And you can kind of mix these stories together while he's doing the last bit of deal with the Wound Man. It picks up the other story or whatever. But I hope that this next story is not just, woe is me, I can't figure anything out. People tell me info, and then at the end it's ambiguous of who is the villain? Who is the hero of this story?
Do you remember what the solicitor, isn't he like in a house or something? Or like
I'm looking at it now. I think it's the
or...
burning, like almost like one of the burning hospitals. Remember, he was going to go to the hospital at one time and it was burning. But I remember us reading, I went to the page so I can find the deal. But I do believe it's like a haunted building or something like that. And that doesn't sound... That sounds, you're going to get Scooby-Doo shit.
Yeah.
A new case kicks off with a gruesome discovery. Case 2. There's a strange tower. It's going to be, again, it's going to be a tower.
It's always
that everybody's going to be like, oh, I didn't see that tower. Like, it's going to be something where all of a sudden everything that you find out will be known by everybody, but a surprise to everybody.
I just hope it's semi Arkham Tower related, so you can play the song. That'd be so great.
I want to play the song. There's a strange tower in Gotham City where the voices of the living and dead echo. Its inhabitants are in a standoff with the police. Now it's going to be the idea if they're good or bad. With one officer dead, I don't know, and another held hostage inside, a riot seems all but guaranteed. Is it a prison? Unless Batman can navigate the building and save the missing police officer. But what the Cape Crusader discovers is that people in the tower are following the direction of a single, strangely familiar voice that thrums throughout the building. And the voice wants blood. Is it the Wound Man? Does he come back?
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of waxing poetic stuff going on. Here's my concern is when you have things like a group of short stories like this, a lot of the times you put the strongest or the second strongest first, so that you get people hooked. So I'm a little worried that this one
And I do think that what they probably went with the idea of the Wound Man, the visual should have been the wow factor. Oh my God, can you see this? But I'm telling you, and people might disagree, but tell somebody who does not read comics, like a wife, son or daughter, and get the best picture of the Wound Man that you can get from any of these. And then say, what do you think this thing is? What do you think about it? And they'd be like, well, looks like they got chainmail on that. Like it wasn't detailed enough to be as it does look horrific with the bars and stuff like that. But like
the nails I
don't
well.
think that people would end up being like, oh my God, that's the most horrific looking serial killer thing I've ever seen in my life. They're probably like, oh, that looks pretty crazy. It wasn't the wow factor. I think Hayden Sherman's art is not. It fits a lot of this, like the noir part and the way it looks like, kind of like the classic Batman cartoons and things. That's fine. But when you get to the horrific parts of it, it loses it. Even the guys in that town, that almost, I hate to say it, that almost felt like comedy relief. Was that a culinary accident, an incident? Oh my God. But see, we still went pretty long.
Yeah, we did.
But again, it's one of those where I do want people to realize that I do think the concept could have been cool. It might have just been the 3-issue format that threw it, and
there are some bad choices. I think that Dan Waters made in this issue too. That I don't know.
Yeah, before our big problem was like Batman just being ridiculously bad and not really being good at things and whatever. But this one just fell apart. But what would you give it?
I would give it, I think probably just a flat 5.
I give it a flat 5. You were saying that, and legitimately, when something like that happens, and I'm like, I started getting like, oh God, I gotta get Sammy Hagar. but I don't think it's
no, I wouldn't do that. And I even want to give it higher. It's not even that I didn't like how it ended. I don't think he did a good job of pacing the ending. Why did he do 6 pages with those guys when you've got to rush through this?
Because it was supposed to go with that idea of like who the real villain is.
I know,
but it's too late for that, and it doesn't work. Yeah. And what happens is Batman should be there taking down the Wound Man. That is the threat. He is actually at this point killing people.
Right.
Take him down, and then have at one point even that he goes and takes down, as what we wanted, the Wound Man's about to kill Sionis.
Right.
He goes, save Sionis, because you can't kill people. And then Sionis is like, Batman, I knew you were on my side.
Right.
And he's like, what? And punches Sionis in the face and says, you're going down next. Yeah. And then walks out. That's perfect. That's the idea of there's bad people, but just because you were attacked doesn't make you good. But just because he's killing you doesn't make him good either. You're both bad.
And I don't want people to think that, like, I don't think that, like, Batman stories with deeper meanings or a little bit more commentary are bad. I think that's okay. I just don't think you can sacrifice your story to have those going on.
I'll tell you, actually, if this was the point of the story, then, and I'm giving it I think 5's the perfect score.
Yeah.
5. When you go at the end, I felt nothing when the story ended, so I became the Wound Man. I have no feelings at all for it.
Oh, God, get the nails out of the house.
And I'm like, Dan Waters is a genius. He made me not feel, because at the end I thought, yeah, that's weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to keep doing this. And if people don't know, point out again that me and you do a Elseworlds podcast on our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science, where we go through all the Elseworlds stuff. And it's something that we really do enjoy. And this being that side deal, like somebody might say, this isn't an Elseworld. Like, it's the same kind of deal. These stories out of continuity type deal. And we really like those, but it has a problem. We've done these things for a bit now. And one of the problems is that there's cool theories and ideas that don't really get fleshed out because there's not enough space. That is a thing. But the idea at the end of not caring either way, or I'm just like, whatever, that if you said, let's not do this. All right. And if you said, man, let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it.
I'm enjoying it enough to keep doing it.
I hope that, we don't end up just hating every issue, but I'm worried.
Yeah,
and one of the things that
trash stuff, especially if people are liking it.
And one of the things that I really wish happened, because Hayden Sherman was only going to be on these 3 issues.
Oh, is that how it was?
Yeah, and him and Dan Waters were getting along so well.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Do all 12.
Interesting.
And I think something like this is primed to get 4 separate artists telling their tale, because they get to give their spin as well. Yeah. Because what this is a cool way to, this is a different spin on Batman. I would have loved to have had different artists on this and see how that changed things.
I think that would have really helped things.
And I remember seeing the deal. I'm like, like 12 issues with the same artist. It's kind of a weird play. Then why don't you do like 2 stories that are 6? That came down the line. Once they finished this 3 issues, Dan Waters, and it's fine. They got along well, and they're going with it. And I'm not saying that I think that right now people are going, Waters, Sherman, like Capullo, Snyder, or even like Mitch Gerards and Tom King, like teaming up like that sort of thing. I don't think that they're quite that, but it's kind of cool to get like that kind of combo. We don't have that a lot. It seems like a lot of people are just assigned to people and things. So it's kind of a nice way that they get along. And maybe that we'll see that kind of helps out, that they go throughout there.
It could. I like we've talked about, Hayden Sherman's art is growing on me. I just don't like his faces. Batman.
My whole thing was just
awful.
the Wound Man not being detailed, and you can't really see. That was where my whole thing. But even him on Absolute Wonder Woman, a lot of people keep talking crap, and I'm used to it now, and it fits the thing. And this is what happened. I could even get used to O'Reilly Rossimo on the right book, because when he was doing Harley
on the
and that Sandman, you get used to it, and then if it changes, then you're like, why am I mad that this? I don't really love this artist and whatnot. But you have to pick the right books, and I think that might be the same for Hayden Sherman. But seems to be Elseworld stuff is what he's doing. The Wonder Woman Absolute, and then this, which But some of the cartoony stuff looked pretty cool in the and I've always said one of the things that I think he does good is buildings and vehicles.
And very like silhouetted people, I think also look good.
And so maybe that'll, like, Dan Waters and him will come together a bit to really, accentuate that as well. So we'll see. But we went. As long as we...
Sorry, guys.
Oh, my goodness. But as I said, if you need more, Tom, we are on the Patreon and our Elseworlds podcast that we have done a bunch of Batman stuff. We've done some, pretty cool stuff so far. And not even the big ones. We've done some obscure ones.
If you want to see some weird ones.
The Robin 3000 might be like...
Robin 3000 and that Teen Titans one was...
Yeah, that Teen Titans one was rough, too. Like, that Robin 3000 was one of the things where I originally was going to do an Elseworlds podcast. That was suggested. I went to do that first. Never did that. It was so bad I didn't do it. So then me and you did it. It was funny.
At least the Teen Titans one was fun to do. That one was... Yikes.
It was rough. And there's some rough ones. There's a ton. I think that people don't even realize how many Elseworlds books there really are. Yeah. There's a ton, not just, Super Son or what the deal, all those things and the stuff with Batman. But with all that, I will bid you adieu. We're going to go back to the show. We don't have a lot of books this week, so me and you coming in with this helps out. It helps out the deal. So thank you for joining me as always, absolutely. Tom. Thanks for that, and we'll get back to the podcast. That's it, Eric. Jeez, wait a minute. It is. I think this is the long version. I didn't want the long version, Eric. Oh, no.
You can't turn it off now?
I can, but we're in now.
Oh, jeez.
It's just an outro. A long outro. Now we're done, I think. Oh, wait.
Still going.
It's done. It's done. There you go. There is the fracture stick. I don't know what I saved the real one under, because I would have saved it the same deal. I ended up, at that point, I was like, yeah, skip that outro. It's pretty quick. And yeah, that was a song that was, I was channeling my inner Eric Shea to do that song for you. And when I did it, I even had to tell you beforehand, because especially when he says, avarice and greed. I agree with you do.
Oh,
but
my.
That's the thing. The thing is, though, the concept was, and the violence was what I almost thought last issue instead of just the rate. Like, I'm telling you, it's a fractured spectrum. You don't know the shit that's going on was the concept of it. But I thought that the avarice, greed, you would really end up having issues with that. So that was the play. And I was going to actually.
That's all right. I don't think it was until the Skittle Lanterns came out and they introduced Lara Fleece that I know, like,
that you know what avarice was. I mean, I think everybody says that the first time and then says, why isn't it just greed?
Seriously.
I think I said that to you. So yeah, there it is. Fractured Spectrum. A song again that I dedicate to you was a deal. And I actually listened to a couple of your songs then, like, okay, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And I got the gist of it, I hope. But here we are. And yes, we do have a book with a fractured spectrum. It is a book that a lot of people, I think it's probably one of the most look forward to books that for 2025. A lot of people love a core book.
Sure do.
They love Jeremy Adams. They're all fired up. And it kind of, with the Green Lantern book, say you're not as hyped up as some people. We still like it. But the idea this could expand things. And this allows where we were afraid, oh my God, there's so many lanterns, especially Earth lanterns. This will give the space for them, which I still think it will. But when we get into it, I don't know. There was some little things that felt odd and weird throughout. But it is kind of just to set this up and maybe get people on board with some of the characters. But you give us the credits and we'll jump into it.
Green Lantern Corps #1, written by Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams, with art by Fernando Pasren, Eau Claire Albert, Arif Prianto, and Dave Sharp. And we start our issue off with a little bit of a cold open with the fall of the United Federation of Planets, or at least it being in disarray at the moment. Kanjar-Ro is making his move to, pretty much alien traffic people, and the Green Lantern Corps are there to stop them. And it's weird, too, because John Stewart comes in and is like, Kanjar-Ro, I'm John Stewart of the Green Lantern. It feels weird for John Stewart to have to introduce himself to Kanjar-Ro at this point in time. I thought it was very weird
that he was introducing himself. And again,
as far as I'm concerned, Kanjar-Ro knows you, dude.
Yeah, and as this is going, I remind people a lot of this at points. You're more of a Green Lantern fan than me. I haven't read everything, and I thought that when that happened, I thought hey, I'm John Stewart. I wanted Kanjar-Ro to go, John, I know you. Like, what are you talking about? And really what it had been is when John Stewart came in, I thought that the play would have been Kanjar-Ro going, Stewart, like something like that, like some sort of crazy deal, whether he knows him by name, but he would know him, I thought. And it was a weird way to introduce the deal. Then the Superman construct, I don't know, that seemed pretty odd. But later, when he uses the baseball, that didn't seem like a John Stewart. That's straight up Hal Jordan. Yeah. And that's the little things. I thought that there were little things in this that just seemed a little odd. And I don't know if it's just because they really want to get everybody on board and go, or is there a problem? And one of the things going, and this might not matter in the long run anyway, but people seem to be like, okay, I thought that this first issue was okay, but I trust Jeremy Adams. Jeremy Adams is my favorite writer. Jeremy Adams has gone on record that he's not really writing much of this. It's more of a story from him and Morgan Hampton's writing. And I wish, now, I don't want people to then say, oh, I don't want them to whatever, but remember that when you sit there, because there's some things that feel off and don't feel like stuff that feels like Jeremy Adams in this. Though I still don't mind this issue. I thought it was an okay issue to get new readers, maybe learning the characters, but some of the interactions were weird. Even
the interactions, I don't mind. You haven't seen these characters interact in a long time. Some of them you've never really seen interact at all for the New Lantern. So we're coming in with Joe Mullen and the rest of the crew. But the idea that you have this whole thing where people might be upset that Jeremy Adams isn't fully writing this, and they're not they might not know Morgan Hampton or doesn't care for the Cyborg book that he did before. Some people like you.
I think that's all he did. So,
but the idea to me is we're still dealing with the story, the fractured spectrum, which I hope it gets good. But every time it seems like it comes up and we talk about it in the Green Lantern book or in this book now, it just doesn't feel like it rings true to anything in the Green Lantern mythos. Like the idea is all right, with all the power batteries being destroyed, like the Fear one, pretty much all of them, except for the Green. The idea that the emotional spectrum is running wild. So if you have any kind of powerful emotion, it's going to take you on wherever you're feeling at that time, and you become a bearer of this, energy. But I'm like, what happened to before we had these different cores and then we didn't have these power batteries? Was this happening nonstop? It just feels like a weird thing.
I think that these writers and whatever, they're just, I don't know that there's anybody there or at DC telling them anything, and where they go with it's always been this. It's always been
it's like Atrocitus just keeping up his rage to make sure that he does this, because otherwise he's dead because he doesn't have a heart no more.
Well, here's the thing. And I was talking to Zach about the book, and I said, man, Sinestro shows up in this. And
as a Green Lantern, not a Red Lantern anymore, which doesn't matter.
And that's the thing, yeah. It doesn't matter, Eric. But the idea, I would think that whether or not you are fans of the Green Lantern Corps, if your battery goes down and you see the Green Lanterns, you might might have Atrocitus, I got to go and see what that. First off, maybe being mad, why isn't your battery, whatever, or you could almost get a New Guardians type feel again, where you would have all of the different Atrocitus, and you'd get, obviously we have Sinestro, but he's a Green Lantern, and then they go and try to fix things. And then Zach says, oh, you didn't read the solicits? He shows up in 2 issues. So I'm like, okay, Maybe that, but even then,
even the idea where we have Sinestro in this book as a Green Lantern, he has used he was a Red Lantern before because of his outrage of not having being a Yellow Lantern before on Earth, became a Red Lantern, has been for about a year, I guess, now at this point. But the idea that he used his will to overcome his rage and just become a Green Lantern, which we've accepted in the Green Lantern Corps because at one point he was the greatest Green Lantern that ever lived, and he seems to be on the up and up. And I just didn't I like seeing Sinestro here. I like seeing him interact with the rest of the Lanterns who may or may not trust him, even though he might have some weird ideas, some good ideas at the time, but he's not leaving New Korrigar undefended as it was. We had Lord Zod and Sin Sun there doing protector stuff before. We've just gotten rid of all of that storyline. New Korrigar does not matter to Sinestro anymore because he's a Green Lantern.
Well, this is the thing. I think that there's a lot of things that are slipping through the cracks, like you said, and I hope this isn't the case, but I don't think when Atrocitus shows up, he's going to be anything concerned. I'm going to die. I think it's just going to be that they're going to say, oh, look, he's just angry now. That goes, yeah. And I'm telling you, I have a fear that they don't even know that. And when you have Sinestro, he shows up. It's a wow moment, right? Where is the one character who says, what the, you could have that cut, if it was a TV show or a movie, where it's I'm here, I'm Sinestro, I'm a Green Lantern again. And then you just cut the guy throwing shit in his room, what the fuck is going on? There's nothing. They're just okay. And by the way, our first mission, you come with us. It just seems accepting too quick. And like you said, you would have people who would be no way. There's no way, Jose.
Especially with a Green Lantern Corps right now that is dwindled into recruitments and the idea that the Guardians pretty much
and
are
that's
no
how they
more.
play it off. They play it off as we need whatever we can get, but it felt odd to me that not one person
Walker's
said
a Green
no
Lantern
way.
Here. We have some other Caucasian white male there. I'm I have no idea who that guy is saving all these aliens from Kanjuro.
I think he's supposed to. That's what Zach. I think he's supposed to be some pink dude, but we'll see. That guy looks like a
you say pink, I say Caucasian.
Yeah, no, I think that he's more of almost Sinestro pink in the deal when you see him, but I don't know. But there couldn't possibly be a new Earthliner. They haven't revealed yet, right? So in that though, even that, the idea of the rings not going, maybe get that going, send the rings out, go get recruit some people and whatnot. But they're well, we're going to do it individually.
Well, even right now, without the Guardians, it seems like we don't have any way to program the rings. I don't know why. We should have Salak there.
That's what they would do.
I agree. That's what you should do. And send them back out. But it seems like we have to find somebody, go in our little Green Lantern pockets and pull out a ring and say, you passed the test. Welcome to the Corps.
Again, they're doing the Jehovah's Witness door to door. Hey, can I talk to you about your willpower? And they're screw it. This is where we get the best.
Do you have the power to overcome great fear?
It would be our greatest thing. Eric, this is what we were talking about this week. They come to your house and they're hey, we want you to be the Green Lantern Corps. You're fuck you. I'm too busy. Slam the door. They knock again. Please, can you just listen, buddy? And they're you just passed the test. They put the ring on you. You're what? And then off you go. But there are Guardians there, but we don't know anything about them. And the idea of all this stuff is
new Guardians.
Yeah, new Guardians. But what are they doing? And I think the first thing I would do is say, rev up the engines. Let's get them rings out there recruiting on the deal. And they're not doing that, like you said. But it's set up to be that personal deal of, oh, I think you're pretty cool. Do you want a ring? Here's a ring. You're not gonna get the Corps up to numbers that way. You're gonna have to do it old school, I think.
It's gonna be a long time to get it back up to 3,600 freaking corpsmen.
Exactly. And so when that happens, I think that the book, and again, I don't mind. I think that this is a pretty good start for a new Green Lantern Corps, especially for people who may not know the characters.
The Corps is fine. It's just I need more of the fractured spectrum to do something because right now it just is out of whack and it doesn't work for me story-wise.
I think that's going to be a lot in the Green Lantern book as well, but obviously. But when you're doing this, though, there's things like you just said. Sinestro, he's just left New Korrigar by itself, but how many planets are now not? They don't have their police. They don't have anything. It doesn't seem to be the concern of, oh my God, the universe is, it's almost just man, we don't got numbers. Them say it just everything.
Well, it even goes back to the idea when we do go to Tamaran later on in this issue where Blackfire's pissed at the Green Lantern Corps because they threw in with the United Federation of Planets. Those dirty, dirty Durlins that did all the corruption across the galaxy. It seems like the idea, most people might be happy that the Green Lantern Corps isn't about policing their sector because they were corrupt.
Though, because they weren't, and I think that
the ones that were actually the Green Lanterns were.
Well, the thing, though, the idea that they ended up stopping that, and the Green Lanterns were just doing what they were told, and that's what a military or police force is supposed to do. They just didn't know better because
we don't have to like it.
the Derlins were fooling them, though. When you get that, it's almost like the Amanda Waller absolute power thing. In my mind, if you end up like if me and you were, I can't even think of it, whatever the deal would be. We're on a football team and there's Sirianni as our coach and he tells us to do wacky things. And then we find out later it was a Derlin. I don't think people are going to say that we betrayed anybody. We were betrayed more than anybody else.
Out there hurting people at the command of others.
Well, again, if you are a military guy or whatever, that's what you're told to do no matter what. It's
just like the Nazis.
Play. Well, again, just like the military now. I mean, if you go out on the battlefield and they tell you to do something and you don't, everybody's dead. You're going to get everybody killed. I mean, it was weird. I don't know that they were doing weird shit.
Sounds like something a Nazi would say.
There were new Green Lanterns. Those guys should be out.
That's what I'm talking about.
Those are done. Well, those guys are probably out. And they were the Green Lantern Corps. But again, that's why they don't have the numbers. That's not them anymore. These are the guys who ended up being the real Green Lantern Corps that ended up fighting back. And I would make a big pomp and circumstance thing, beheading in the town square. You gotta let people know that you weren't down with that. But still, they're still the Green Lanterns. And if
stick a baton in their mouth.
If you did, then you're an asshole. That's what a Nazi would say, Eric. You end up where, again, you toe a fine line where when you want to say the galaxy is pissed up, but then if that's the case, then fuck the Green Lantern Corps. Why even do it? Because they're never going to. It's a weird play. You
got to work to gain their trust back, as they have many times in the past.
And when it happens, it's like a weird play of if they're that upset, I don't know that you can gain their trust back because of pretty much genocide. They consider you part of it. It's weird. But the idea, again, Sinestro shows up. That weird play where he had that weird, like, squinty look at Jon Stewart was odd. But he shows up and they're like, hey, there he is. And not one person really...
If fear is involved, Sinestro will be your guide.
Yeah, look, and look at him. I mean, this guy... a set of balls on this motherfucker. The guy is like, he is the greatest Green Lantern of all time, right? He's also the biggest villain. Like, that's it. They don't seem to say that. Somebody should say, yeah, I'm the greatest villain. He's like, yeah, whatever. And you know that whenever the case may be, Yellow Lantern, he's done. He's going to go off, which is fine. They're desperate, but nobody says anything. And then that happens again when you have, and the narration. There's Ellie. She's a construct I made. It might sound bad, and somebody's probably going to talk to me about it sometime, but...
I can only hope. I don't know if somebody's going to listen to the podcast from other things we talked about, or it's just something in the writer's mind, the idea of how Jordan should have a great connection to the idea of resurrecting lost family members, and doing this. When he was told not to, he became Parallax because of this. I am waiting for the other shoe to drop on old John resurrecting his sister through a construct.
But this is the weird thing. Like, this is a thing. Now, again, when
not
you
for
had
personal
or whatnot,
gain.
At one point during the whole deal with the United Planets and whatnot, I think that Hal should have said, at just an aside, hey, John, we're going to have to talk about something when we're done here. And I think that the scene, I don't think it would be like, what the fuck? I want Hal to be like, I know what you're doing here. Like, I tried as well. It's what we all think of. Why are you doing this? And then John but having a nice, heart to heart about how he feels. And now it would be the idea of, well, I know it's wrong. I know she shouldn't be here. But if I let go of Ellie, then I really let go of my whole family because his
know what
mom
that sounds
died.
like, Jim?
What's that?
Fear.
Well, yeah.
That's why you don't do it.
Well, again, you do that, but even the fear, but it's compassion as well. Like, maybe Ellie, I mean, here's the way, she becomes like they ended up having the deal where they're going to push Teen Lantern Kelly, that she was like this be all end all. Maybe the Spectrum can be saved by Ellie herself because of all that. I don't know. It would be weird, but somebody's got to get to him and say, this is not right. It's not right. Some of the worst things that have happened to the Green Lantern Corps.
Look, we got a lot of shit going on. We are going to have a discsion about your construct ghost sister.
Yeah, that's what I want to have.
Freaking Oa being haunted right now.
Yeah, like, seriously, freaks me out. Plus, I don't know. I was going to make up some stupid thing, but it's there. It shouldn't be a thing. He did the wrong thing for the right reason, but it's not. And Hal should have an issue
just like
with
Parallax.
Hal should, yeah. That's the problem. But again, with the whole Spectre, maybe it'll fit into the whole thing. But he does mention it at least. But then you just go and like, who else, Jon Stewart? Look at me. He's like, look at him hanging. He's just hanging. It's not even him just like there, like, hey, everybody,
he is
I'm back,
waiting
whatever.
in the wings for his dramatic entrance.
Whew, he's like there, like he does look a little like a rapper, like he's in a b-boy stance. He's doing his deal, but
he is a stage actor with that mustache from the 1930s.
He is, actually. So they're going to, and again, he's part of this, away team, just back, hey, we need you, let's go. And they go to Tamaran. And then, I don't know, like, you have this, and it's basically just a whole long scene to set up that they're going to get a new recruit. I think that it went on a little too long.
It definitely did, and it was played up for last for the idea that we do have to go to Tamaran because we have all this going on where you have a big giant construct of their godic soul, like ravaging the city, going after this whole thing. And Blackfire, she's like, we don't need saving. We have some exposition about how she feels about the Green Lantern Corps, but mostly it seems like we're going to focus on the idea. Well, look at you, John Stewart. You can be my concubine. And we're just going to keep on talking about that throughout the rest of the issue, as long as we're on Tamaran, because he done saved her life.
And so when you go through this, like, at points, you're like, oh, man, let's go. Hey there, John Tate. Actually, remember that Sherry O'Terry skit that I sent you from Saturday Night Live where she's overly inappropriate? That's what it reminded me of.
The inappropriate coworker?
The inappropriate coworker. Like, it ends up where they're like, oh, man, that was awesome. You say, hey, by the way, I got something you can save right here in my panties. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
My panties, I mean my vagina.
And what I mean is my vagina.
And when I talk about my vagina, I mean you should be having sex with me.
You should be having sex with me right
concubine.
now. Concubine, and by concubine, I mean big strapping man. I'm telling you, it was like, it threw me off every time. And the funny thing is, as it happened,
I'm sitting there. It's much, but I'm
get tripping notch.
No, the thing is, it's a little much, but all I can think of is being just me. I guess it is like, go get you some, John.
Yeah, actually,
I'm not turning down Blackfire.
And John's like, I'm in, but in. You mean in my vagina? I just want to keep doing it. And we said it earlier when he catches her in the baseball mitt. That's like he can do whatever he wants, but the idea is that's Hal. It's the basic bitch Hal.
It could even be Guy.
Guy would do the deal as well. To me, John would construct the most crazy, intricate, crazy contraption, like a mousetrap thing. But he saves her, and then she wants sex and more sex. But the big play was Sinestro actually going down and talking to this girl who's the heretic, they say, because she has this issue. But she
loves her god Exalt, but she also fears her god that she's not worthy of having the praise of her god. And because of this, she has great fear, which is manifested this construct. And because of the idea where Sinestro talks her down by calling her dummy a few times to talk her through the idea of like, this is you, stop fucking doing this. Use your willpower to overcome your fear. This is not your god. This is what you did. She overcomes this. The construct goes away. And because Vexor Rue was able to do this, we have our Tamaranian Green Lantern welcomed into the Corps.
Yeah. And with that, you have Blackfire in between being inappropriate. Like, oh my God, it was you. You're the worst, whatever. And then Sinestro does step up for her and says, no.
This woman loves your god more than anyone.
More, and then also does play the idea in a pretty good way of what is fear, what is willpower, how it combines, all those things. Because it does get a little gray area, but the way he spells it out, it makes a lot of sense. And then it's almost like he's like looking at John. It's like, come on, John, give it to her. Give her the ring. And then they do. They give her the ring, and she's got to get the hell out. Because if they end up leaving, first off, you got
Blackfire's cutting her head off.
You got a horned up Blackfire is already pissed. He's going to cut her head off. So they get out. But it was a good Sinestro moment.
Damn
even
it.
at the
I got
point
the Tamaranian blue balls now that John Stewart left. Vexor Rue, come here. I'm going to cut your head off.
Here. That always gets me off.
Frustrated.
I was going to give him head, but now I'm going to take some, Eric. I don't know why I'm starting to talk like a Southern lawyer.
It happens.
I'm going to take some of that head instead of giving it there, y'all. But when they do this, there was a line.
I do imagine, though, the idea that Vexor Rue is, welcomed into the Green Lantern Corps. She thanks Sinestro for everything he's done. Don't thank me, X. You still have to go through training. I do believe that we'll never see it, but she's going to get washed out of training, have to go back to Tamaran and not be a Green Lantern.
I get that Sinestro's going to train her. She's done.
No, that's a Kilowog deal.
Also, if you look at the deal, if you want to go with the sectionist, look at the panel that Sinestro, look out. You could take that out and you could think there's some weird shit going on there. I just saw that. Pretty sexy, Eric. But when you go through this whole thing, the one line threw me off where John Stewart ends up like, and then I thought he was the worst, but then he proves me wrong. I read it in a weird way that I'm like, oh, he thinks he's a piece of shit. Oh, no, he meant that this is the good deal. And Sinestro, he's a personality, that guy. He's
he stepped up and told you.
Personality. Yeah.
I don't agree with him being here, but I like him being here.
Yeah, and I like that he's so pompous.
It's like when we went into the New 52 out of Bright as Day and stuff like that, and he was a Green Lantern again, and him and Hal would have to team up. I'm like, that was a great little bit of story there because of the, the frenemy situation that you have with them.
Yeah, and again, this leads to Hal finding out later, there could be some really cool things. Now, I did like that. I don't like that he's there and nobody said anything. And there's a lot of things that I did like about this issue. But what really got me, and when we're going through it now, and it kind of struck me, the deal where you do get a weird idea in this. Most of this book is played out like a sitcom. You end up with things in the background happening with Guy Gardner with this weird trash baby. And I don't even know what that thing is. And so that's going. But then you also have...
It's like a soapy baby monster alien.
Yeah. So that's going on in the background as goofiness while they're bringing Kanjaro, which is a big thing. But then you have Joe with the sure. And that would break to audience laughter back to the commercial. There's so many things in this.
Even the idea where you have the inner monologue of John Stewart, who's been going through a lot with, him becoming what his power set, losing his mother and having a construct ghost sister running around the halls of freaking Oa here. But the idea, I should be able to confide in her. I just don't know her very well, and she doesn't have time for it. I just need to move on, and she's going to be there for it. But you have that kind of interpersonal relationship, kind of around the office, won't they situation.
And you have that with Jessica and Simon, which people were thrown off. And that's the reason why I don't love this scene, because me and you love Jessica and Simon. Now, maybe the play is they're going to get together. I don't think so.
They shouldn't,
think they're partners, right? Yeah. But I think they're... But the
it's
play
like Riggs
that they
and Murtaugh getting together.
Everybody who talked to me about this that don't know the characters asked, are they a thing? And I said, no, they're partners. But the way it plays out, even with the idea, again, like a sitcom deal, where he gets on his knees. And in this, she is upset. She's overworked. She's stressed out.
Well, they made her the fucking ambassador out of nowhere. She has no freaking experience for this. She's overwhelmed.
For crying out loud, they made Teen Lantern the tech wizard of all wizards. This girl found a gauntlet.
I think they kicked Solak out of the court and brought her in.
Solak is there, and he's like, okay, I'll get back to my job. They're like, oh, no. Didn't you hear? We got this girl who found a gauntlet on a trash heap. She's replacing your ass. He's like, fuck this, and left. He's now the Sorrow Lantern, too.
Solak and Teen Lantern, if you want to move her in this direction, should be working hand in hand, but she should not be this freaking child prodigy out of nowhere that knows Oa in and out.
Her under Solak, him training her and him not liking it, that could be a real, again, it's almost a sitcom situation again, but that would have been great.
But it works.
But the idea of this play, Jessica's I'm so stressed, I don't know what to do. This could be something where Simon, they've dealt with this.
Well, how good was it back when Simon became a Green Lantern and he had Badge hanging out with the friendship and camaraderie that they had? That was a great twosome.
And then even him and Jessica have had their deal. I also say that there's a weird thing going on, and it's just coloring. But the one she boops him, boop, on that, she looks like she has a yellow symbol over her eye at that point.
Yeah, it's a weird pale thing. Green through a lot of it.
I'm telling you, it's a really odd play. But the idea where he gets on his knees and it's you're the best. I don't think that's Simon. I think Simon would be oh, let's go and have a drink or something.
Well, we say that, but we have not seen Simon do anything in years to the point where this could be Simon now.
Well, the weird thing is what we've had seen Simon do is really be concerned to Teen Lantern. That was his big thing in the Jeffrey Thorne stuff and whatnot, but he's just here and he's walking out. I guess he's Mr. Motivational Speaker. He goes in and gets down on his knees. She's not now. Oh, no. They're on the kiss cam. You end up and she's and then even then, okay, I will. Thanks, Simon. Boop. And he goes, good. But put away what you're doing. We're late for a briefing. Shoot. Oh, no. And then the laugh track. It really feels it's Big Bang Theory or something.
Well, I'm telling you,
my God.
You say that, but when we get back to the core and have some more exposition about what's going on out there, how we can, the spectrum's running wild. Maybe if we, don't stop them, but we train them to use it, we can actually cut down the losses of the idea that this is going to destroy the universe at the end of everything if we don't stop the fractured spectrum. Oh, and by the way, we have John, you're on this new Thanagarian duty right now because of what happened with Mogo and the thing before. And they brought a royal ambassador for an envoy here. Oh no, Thanagar. Hey, John, you see Shayera there. It's long time no see. And you just get that whoa situation.
You're
but the problem with this is,
this
is for all the Justice League fans, of the animated series Justice League fans, where they were a couple. This is not that Shayera. The last time we saw Shayera, her and Carter Hall had spent their life together and were the one and true Hawkman and Hawkwoman, which makes it doubly weird when we had the JSA come out. and, Hawk Girl was there, Kendra instead of Shayera. Now, it makes sense to a degree that, Shayera would go back to Thanagar Prime during this situation because she was the queen, but her having this relationship that we never got to see in comics, only relating to the animated series, like, this is what we're having new writers, like, especially Jeremy Adams at this point, like, doing this.
I've
having
said
callback to younger, older readers who were young during the Justice League cartoon phase that are going to get a kick out of this.
But again, this is the thing that gets me in this, because it's 100%. When I see it, I'd never watch the cartoon. I'm an adult, Eric. But the whole thing is, I read comics. That I want the things in the like, you can't get the continuity right in any book in any week, and now everybody just keeps throwing this shit, and it is like bigger things like relationships and things like that, where the idea of, why am I sitting here? Not read comics most of my life, but I have read, I guess we've read and talked about every Green Lantern book pretty much for the last 10 years, right?
I haven't talked about the Green Lantern book.
That was just that one, that Grant Morrison, but I did. So
you did.
Take that. So all of them. How can I end up being a thing where I don't know what's going on, and I couldn't? Because it's not I didn't read that book or whatever, this is a cartoon thing.
You didn't watch a cartoon 25 years ago.
Yeah, and so what I think there's a difference between, sometimes it's done in a way, like we actually had Tom King, where he ends up, what was it called?
The Phantasm.
The Phantasm, and didn't do anything with it.
That's what I feel was one of the big starts of it, the idea that you introduced the Phantasm to
I have a better start.
And they talks about the idea, well, what's the Phantasm's origin for this universe? Well, it's pretty much just watch Mask of the Phantasm. Like, well, that doesn't work with comics continuity.
I think the start of kind of you're right with the whole thing of, you have to, if you're going to get anything, you got to go watch the cartoon. But I think that one of the big things, and I don't mind it this way, was when you had Scott Snyder make a team, and he says, okay, I'm going to make a team in continuity, but it's going to be the team that was in the cartoon. You know what I mean?
That
like
was fine.
That thing. And that's where
that was one of those homages that fans could get behind, because it doesn't rely on the thing before, but if you know it, it's even better.
It was kind of a cool play of, okay, that's the team that Jon Stewart was on, all that, like, hey, we're going to do that. But it didn't change anything in continuity. No. And you played it there, and I was fine with that. And I kind of thought, okay, that's cool. You're giving people a little wink and stuff like that. And then from there, though, we are just adding, and there's been so many more. But recently, the past 3 months since, maybe it's all in, the idea there's tons of this stuff popping up of, I have no idea. I'm like, hell, Hal Jordan's thing. Oh, it was the thing from Renegade. You're like, no, that was part of the Green Lantern cartoon. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, and that, because I thought that involved the AI and
Darlene,
Darlene, but it wasn't. And then I feel like a jerk. And it's the idea of almost like playing out for me. And most people probably are like, well, you should watch the
even you consider Baby Doll in our previous Two-Face issue coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
With her relationship to Killer Croc in Batman the Animated Series, and now she has a relationship with Scarface.
It feels like to me, and so are we trying to get? It's weird. Like, do you think that adding Baby Doll into the thing is going to get somebody who's not reading DC Comics but watched an episode of the deal? But I also don't think it's going to get me to go watch the cartoons. But even that, why would they keep
it doesn't always hurt, though, because then you get characters like Livewire, you get like Harley Quinn.
But I'm saying their deal of them, why would it's not going to benefit them that I decide, well, fuck it, I'll go watch cartoons and stuff like that instead. I mean, they'd want both, but the idea...
I'm going to say, I don't need to have one or the other.
To me, I don't think that people are going to yell like, oh my God, you got to read this issue of Green Lantern Corps. Hawkman comes in is hanging out with John. Like, if
you say that to a Justice League fan of the animated series, yeah, they'll jump in. Like,
if they're not reading now, I don't think they're going to jump in just because of a thing that was 25 years ago. Is what I'm saying. I mean, get things
people
going.
Love that nostalgia.
What it should have been is, well, then get the nostalgia of things in the comics, and then some of these people who actually did buy comics and read them at some point might come back. Don't get these Johnny come lately 25 years. 25 years ago, Johnny come latelys. But again, it's a weird play. And it ends up where I realized right away, well, something's going on here. And then I looked right away and found out. But yeah, and I don't want to go too much into it because I still run scared from that one review for that one DC Comics podcast that the guy didn't watch the Aquaman movie. And some guy left a 1-star review like, how dare you? You're a comics thing that didn't read, but I don't really watch all the other media. And I'll wait to see. But if it really relies on, just like back on this, and I'm like, it's driving me nuts. Hopefully it's not that. But,
hopefully it's not, because I really don't want to intersect that with this because it just comes out of nowhere and has no real meaning to it.
And like you said, though,
that is another universe that actually exists in the multiverse where that's still going on.
And so there are questions. I'm having a problem. I'm going to cough, but there's questions that you have with her in the continuity now. And what happened after the deal? And so this, I think, might skew that even worse, right? It's a weird play. But I like the art for the most part. I like seeing the characters, even those characters, like it's Kelly is in it, but it's Kelly when they say, hey, Kelly, patch that up. And she like smirks at the camera. And it's so weird the way that it's set up here.
It is a very odd setup. Like you said, it does feel like a sitcom situation.
Yeah, and then guys in the background. My favorite guy, and he's there and he's got a soap baby. And then he's just hanging and doesn't say anything.
Ultimately, though, I don't mind the art. Like, I look forward to the Green Lantern Corps book overall. It's just jumping into this. I had problems with the Fractured Spectrum story in the Green Lantern book. Coming over to here, I still have problems with it. It doesn't seem like we're resolving. We're just going full bore with the ideas that we have set up, which don't really work in the Green Lantern mythos as far as I'm concerned. And then the little situations like Shire showing up, and even like, I don't know, just different things. It just doesn't make sense the way that things are working in this book. And it feels like you have to allow this to be okay in your mind for this book to work. And I just don't think I'm there yet. So even though I look forward to the Green Lantern Corps, love the Green Lanterns and all the Corps members that we get to see here, I have to give it a 6 out of 10. It just like it takes me out of the story because it doesn't feel like there's enough like heavy lifting to get us where we need to be at this point.
And we haven't had a Corps book in a while. Some of these characters, but also thinking about it, I got to think about this, Eric. It's Jim thinking time. Because in this, most people, and Guy's not really featured. People know Guy. John's the central guy. That's fine. But the idea where you do need, if you're going to try to be getting people like, hey, people don't know, or like Joe, like you got to do more for that, or Kelly. And they're kind of just there smirking a lot. So I don't get the concept. The Sinestro bit is the big deal. But I think that in this, the way they're playing it, I think the Fractured Spectrum is not going to run through this as much as the Green Lantern book. And I think that this is going to be, let's get the Corps in numbers. Let's go find more Corps members.
I think it's going to be both.
Even going off the Thanagar. But I think the idea that the Fractured Spectrum is going to just be, oh, there's somebody acting up on that planet. There's somebody acting up on this. We got to go to Thanagar. I think that it's going to be more of that. And I believe
it's an emotion of the week's like villain.
And what you ended up having Jeremy Adams saying he's not really writing this script and going, I can see right now. I think that Morgan Hampton wants to make it a fun book, which is fine. I think, but it's a weird play. I think that you're going to have the problem. Well, you don't like fun, Eric, but besides that, there's a story going on. That old Eric Shea over here is a huge Green Lantern fan, and there's a lot up in the air that is really intriguing to him and really could be like turn everything on its ear, this whole thing with this Fractured Spectrum. And then I think this book's going to kind of be, hey, let's have some goofy fun with the characters. And I think it's going to wear on you a bit every time.
It just doesn't feel like it's fully thought out. It seemed like a cool idea, but nobody really thought about it enough to realize there's holes in it.
And again, it would be like you have hey, I have these two things that I'm doing together. They're combined. One is a horror story, and this one's just a goofy sitcom. I think they might not mesh as well. But
tell you the thing that stuck out the most in my mind this issue, sadly, I'm telling you, and it shouldn't be the thing that sticks out, is waiting for someone to talk to John about his construct ghost sister.
I really think that the thing that stuck out to me was that whether it is Morgan Hampton writing whatever, wrote a pretty good Sinestro. I mean, that was pretty good. He actually thought that out and actually went with the idea of it, and it really felt like Sinestro.
But you have to rely on the idea that he's here, and it makes sense.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Everything, it has been a thing in this whole play, is a lot of the things in the Green Lantern stuff going on right now, there's a lot of hand-waving to get through things. There's a lot of non-explanations, and there's a lot of, well, I'll have faith in this or just go forward. And I have had people say, that me and you were a little harsh. And I'm like, well, Eric, maybe.
Yeah.
But the idea of being harsh, it's because we're waiting for explanations and things like that when they're just trying to have fun. And that's fine. You're just here for fun. You don't have to worry about the idea of Construct Ellie. You just like Ellie. Hey, it's a cool thing, but there's big things. Or it's funny when... Blackfire wants to bed down John the whole time. Like, that's funny, goofy fun. But
it is funny. But
it is funny, but
especially
it's
because even by the end, if you have this kind of past relationship with Shira and John as well, it's like John cannot get away from the women wanting him.
Yeah, and he's got like space gonorrhea, I think, right?
Mentality's going to show up next.
Actually, that's what I thought would have been the better play. I thought that instead of
you want her to be the royal envoy from Thanagar?
Not Thanagar, just whatever. I mean, you don't have to go to Thanagar right now. You could go to Thanagar any other time. I thought it was going to be something else of, hey, by the way, we have to do this. Here's the emissary, and there's, that.
Fatality ain't got no home.
Fatality deal. But it might have been even the idea of like, hey, there's something going on, or she's going to join the Corps. I mean, this whole thing, it's just going to be like, awkward, and then they're going to go do something, and then it'll be resolved. I'm telling you,
it's the weirdest part too. The idea of going into Green Lantern Corps #2. All I want is some deeper information about what's going on with Hawkwoman and Hawkman.
Yeah, that'd be funny if that's all it is. You go in and have a cold open, kind of where middle conversation where it says like after 5 hours, she's just talking about Hawkman the whole time. She's explaining it all to John. He's like,
thank you.
He's like,
can
you find me where Blackfire is? Because I'll just do it with her. So you do that. So but it still was good, and I think that newer readers might like it even more. That it ends up it's easy to get into. You got a couple funny things, and then you got Sinestro.
You got a score?
I think didn't I say I'm a 7?
Okay.
You said a 6. I said I'm a 7. I said I'm actually a little bit higher than you, but I think it's because I don't have the investment as much as you. Even that's the funny thing. I've read 10 years of stuff. It's never been my big thing. So, and you're always there to teach me, because it gets wacky. I mean, you talk about the idea. The Green Lantern was. Did you quit when it was that big giant arrow that was shooting to the moon?
The Breen arrow, yeah.
Yeah, the Breen arrow. That's when you ended up, and I said, "Oh, it was so funny." I'm
Grant
like,
Morrison done Morrison too much for me.
And we're there. I'm done. And Reggie's like, "Oh no, you're not." We had to talk about the whole thing.
Am, Reggie.
And then we did the there was an in between series.
Yeah, the season 2.
The Black Stars. No, there was even a mini series, the Black Stars, and then season 2. Finally, I think we finished it though, but I think we skipped
not the Dark Stars, the Black Stars for some reason.
Yeah. Cause that's the weird thing. I didn't even mess it up, but I kind of did because he. That was when Gray can.
I was
laugh.
done with that book.
That was when me and you were. I never want to read a Grant Morrison thing ever again. I'm done. And now I have a podcast that I love. And I read some of the older things and different things by Grant Morrison that I really do like. But that book was unreadable at points. It was just, and at points, people bring that up or like, actually, it's funny. When you have people say, well, we haven't had a Green Lantern book. At one point, they would say this at certain things. And then people, oh, no, the Grant Morrison book. And you would wait to see.
We didn't have a Green Lantern
I'm telling
book.
You would wait to see what they would say to that. Because some people are like, oh, yeah, I forgot. And other people are like, fuck that. That was not like
I'm telling you, one of the things I love to do, like once a month, I'll go to Ollie's and see whatever like DC trades they have for like sale on Ollie's prices. You know what I'm saying? No, it's always there. I refuse to buy it.
The art was interesting.
I buy crap. I buy every freaking New 52 freaking second volume of some nonsense you don't care about. I will not buy that. And it's a hardcover.
You channel your inner Wonder Woman and say, no, thank you. That's what you say to them. You're like, I'm not doing that. It was so
I think I've bought like a DCYOU Wonder Woman stuff.
I believe, and again, we try to prepare. We read the issues and we talk about them and whatnot. When we got done, I think I said to Reggie, like we were going to talk about the last issue, and I said, Reggie, I do not know what I read. And he said, neither do I. And we limped through it. We had no idea. Like shit was going so wacky, and it had to go with this, and you have to. Oh, it was so crazy. Oh, that Grant Morrison. But yeah. So here we go. But yeah, I'm excited that we have a core book, and it expands things. You can tell the story.
I just hope it does more than it did this issue going forward.
I hope that what this means is you get double the story, not just the idea, we can pan it out a little because we have the 2 books. I hope that it hits hard because I would think you could kind of guess or go, and I think that's why they have the name of Jeremy Adams on it. It's that they want you to buy both of the books. So
they're doing the Fraction Spectrum story here as well, which he is the architect of.
I think that he'll still be on it. I think it's the name to say, hey, you got to buy these things and go forward. Again, that's a cool thing. I said that if that's the case, that's props to Jeremy Adams, that they think he is big enough now to say, listen, he's there. It's almost like from the mind of Jeremy Adams. And then you'll buy a book because I think if it comes out and people say, who's writing it, Morgan Hampton, not a lot of people are going to say, oh, my God, I have to buy that then. But people are really big on Jeremy Adams. So it's a little, solid, Eric, as you say on your Jenko jeans. But we're going to end the podcast with a book that's pretty damn good. But what are we talking about?
Aquaman #2, written by Jeremy Adams with art by John Timms, Rex Locus, and Dave Sharp. And the new era of Aquaman is starting its second issue off in like a weird situation where I knew that going into the series that Jeremy Adams was going to introduce the idea of the blue to be along the lines of the red, the green, all are different things, all are different parliaments that hold the universe together. And Aquaman was going to be the avatar of the blue. Back in the day, we used to call it the clear. And we used to briefly bring up the idea of the clear. Now it's just the blue. And it seems that this, as far as I'm concerned, the idea of that Omega portal that Aquaman went through at the end of the first issue, he has gone to the realm of the blue. They just keep talking about the blue in this, like that's where we are. And I have no idea if that's accurate or not, because it doesn't feel like that's where we are, because we are in a barren world with no water, and we have freaking mythological beings that old hags that used to steal children in freaking England out of the riverside as somebody who wants to take the blood of people just to get the water out of it because there is no water of this world for sustenance.
Yeah, maybe we'll get old gods on an island. Can we get that?
No, we just have Arian calls Aquaman a new god.
It is funny every time they say it. I'm like, well, he needed the money. Because when I think of there, or I think the blue. That's what Eric channeled into every Wednesday at the truck stop. But you end up where when they said it, I was confused. I'm not confused of what they're saying the blue is. I was confused of, are you in it? Like, obviously, in my mind, I don't even think of the green. Or I actually thought of the Speed Force of being inside something like that, and I don't understand what they.
We are on a world with little freaking hobgoblins riding giant freaking iguanas called Grindylows that are going to bring Aquaman to their hag-like queen, freaking their mistress, their lady, freaking what is it, Jenny Greenteeth? And the idea
that threw me off. I mean, it is a thing, but it felt goofy though in this because the blue.
Yeah, exactly, because but we have Jenny Greenteeth, who seems to be the ruler of this barren world. Like I said before, anybody who comes here, anytime the portal is open, which seems like it should never have been open because it needs that pearl, which I guess is gone now. Who knows how the pearl works anymore? But the idea that the pearl opened the Omega portal on Earth, water washed in, but not really a lot. We just had enough to make some mud piles. They should have
kept it open to actually. That's what I thought. I thought they were going to apocalypse and going, but yeah, and so even when Jenny Greenteeth. They used to call me that in Cleveland. I didn't brush well.
Which I'll tell you, it's weird, the idea of this Jenny Greenteeth, because she seems to be some sort of, child of the green, an avatar of the green of some sort, but she is this parasitic monster inside this human form that can use the green to her will, but I don't understand the character enough to the point where it doesn't matter, though, because we just have Aquaman rip her apart and kill the parasite shadow monster inside of her.
Yeah, I don't know. I got more that she was like a lagoon thing of the blue, but she has a lot of green around her. It's very convoluted.
I'm just saying, she is using vines and freaking, spikes on the vines to bleed out her victims.
You say that, but they're I think that Jeremy Adams gets a little wacky with this. The idea they're underwater plants. That still should be the green, but I think it's pushing the blue because she's the sea hag. And then I got confused. A
river hag.
You, I still, whatever. I mean, the bitch could be wherever she is. She's still a hag, Eric. The idea, I still liked it. I liked it.
I think the book looks great. Even the idea that you're going to bring
fantastic. And I didn't love the art, the last issue for some reason. This one I thought looked great.
But you bring in the former king and Mage of Atlantis, Arian, and the idea that he's been here ever since. I have to imagine what we had him before during the idea. I think it was during the stuff when we did the cosmic stuff with the graveyard of the gods and shit like that. Yeah, during all that stuff.
Which we ended up having that
kaiju monster in the previous issue.
So maybe that was somewhat connected, but yeah, that's when we had him. But
and that's the thing, is the idea of his connection to the dark world. I thought at first for some reason we were in the dark world, but since I keep saying the blue as in an actual place, I have no idea right now. Again, I look forward to an Aquaman book. I look forward to an Aquaman book having these new Mara-like powers because it's something interesting and new to the character. I look forward to Arian showing up because he's a fucking wild card to this whole thing. I don't know what this book is trying to tell me it's doing.
I like that. And it's very quick. It looks great. And I had fun with Aquaman being kind of badass. But when you think about it, now you're saying things. And even the idea where, okay, if this is, we're going to assume, they keep saying it, it's the blue.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen Swamp Thing go in the green, the part of the trees, all that stuff. But if this is the blue, it doesn't work for me because the blue is just the state of the thing. And how did it lose? Like, it feels like this is something else. You know what I mean?
I agree. It feels like something else, but it might lead to something bigger. The idea of the connection that like an area would have, or Atlanteans. The idea that even the green and the gray and poison ivy, they say that they're in danger from everything going on. If this is inside the blue and actually is a manifestation of what the blue actually is, all like water, life, energy of the universe, and this is the manifestation of where it comes from, there's a problem because it's a barren planet.
This is my problem, is that when we get to this, it's because Aquaman is going to chase down his, Atlanteans, his wife, his thing.
His entire city and family.
The only thing that connects the deal, like we said, was that kaiju water monster. But there was not anything in the play of like, oh my God, the water level's down. Or, oh my God, the water's acting weird. Like that would be like, if this is the blue, where I'm thinking of it as like the Parliament of Trees green deal, there's no water on any planet. The universe is fucked because this is the deal. When you have sometimes you'll see that vision of the Parliament of Trees while they're upset about the Amazon forest being burned, like it's something, and they'll have a little bit of something happen or whatever, but it's not a barren wasteland of them saying, oh shit, we're done. This seems like if this is the legit blue, shit has gone way beyond and should have been reactive to what we saw on even Earth or wherever.
I agree.
That's what made me confused. When I saw this and they're saying this, I'm like, if this is what you're saying, the blue, then there's no hope for any planet.
Well, you just have all this going on. You have to think to yourself, how does the Omega symbol fit into the idea there's a portal to the manifestation of the blue here on this barren planet? It is being plagued by Jenny Greenteeth. Like, she seems to be a plague that he wants to purge and have destroyed, an infection. And even as the thing inside of Jenny Greenteeth, the darkness that's inside her, she's like, you won't survive. The blue is his. Dagon lives. I'm like, now we got motherfucking Dagon on top of all this.
Dagon's in. Oh my goodness gracious. And that's cool, but even then, the weird play here, and I think that there is some things. It seems
doing
like
some
they're
old god
missing.
shit, as far as I know.
Yeah, and then Aquaman's a new god, but a new god here.
As Arian thinks.
Yeah, so when you do
you are
this,
the dark tide. You are a new god cometh.
So what I think is missing that kind of gets me, because I'm confused as well as you are about this blue. And I thought that they did play it out well in Poison Ivy. If people aren't reading that, where the gray came to Poison Ivy and saying, like, we don't have an avatar, like, we need somebody to help out. If that would have been this, that he goes in and it's the idea that all of a sudden this blue, it was kind of on its own doing its deal, but nobody is real like an avatar or actually doing it. And that was what this was about, that it's now gone to hell because nobody's there. But it doesn't, the idea that Jenny Greenteeth can actually cause this much devastation in the entire, that seems a little bit too much.
Well, not even that. It might even just be Dagon, yeah.
But when she says Dagon, then it makes more sense. But even then, it feels weird. Like, everything in this feels weird. And it's played off in a way like Arian could just be saying it. Like you even said. He says, you're a new god, just kind of saying that. But the guy could be crazy.
Well, even at the beginning of the first issue, the whole idea we had that cold open where it looks like he'll, like, whatever, if that was Dagon, we saw him killing at the beginning of the first issue. The idea that he would then be called the God Slayer. I'm like, okay, is he the God Slayer or is he the new god that Arian's talking about here?
Yeah. And so,
but I have to think though, if the planet is in this I say planet, but like, place that embodies all of the blue, okay? If it is in this disarray, it's infected with this evil, this shadow, this darkness. Orion's talking about, you are the fulfillment of a prophecy, the dark tide that crashes upon the shores of Zeri. You are the vessel to be filled. I have to think that maybe while this world was the place that was the bridge to all the access of the blue, once Aquaman got Mara's powers, he became the bridge himself.
Yeah, and it could be. And that'd be cool. I just need something a little more explained. And where I'm worried, again, I think that Jeremy Adams writes some really cool things. But we've said, while people get mad at us at some point, the idea that some of the things that came up in the Green Lantern deal, like one of the things that comes right off the top of my head, why isn't Kyle a White Lantern anymore? Like, that just gets wiped away. We had a lot of things, even at the beginning, with Hal getting his powers back, and he's getting shot by the crazy tech that was alien, that was never all these things kind of get hand-waved. This is big. Like, the idea you want to introduce the blue, but again, Jeremy Adams does want to do big things. The Fractured Spectrum is very big. I mean, you're doing this whole crazy thing. It needs to be explained, and this needs to be explained.
Clear.
Yeah, well, and it's funny, the clear, all I think of is that's one of the things that Barry Bonds would put on him that was a steroid that he didn't want to know the real thing, so it was the clean and the clear.
Oh, I thought it was that thing you put on as a high schooler.
No.
Oh, that was Clear Sil.
It was like that thing I'm going to come over right now and by fist. You end up like, and also, did you think at one point, because actually Jenny Greenteeth at one point said, "Oh, lady, they're dead," and then I'm like, "Oh God, there is that big well of like that cistern of blood. Like, is that their blood? Are they dead?" I don't think they are, but where did they go?
So. Where did they go? The idea of this pearl, because like I said before,
it's interesting though. I still like this. I think that it's interesting.
We had it show up as the ocean orb during Flashpoint Beyond that the Aquaman had to flood Britain. We had the pearl show up in that Mad Max universe to bring back during the 1 minute war that bring the water back to that Mad Max universe that they had, and then the pearl before in the Brave and the Bold with that white Martian who wanted to bring the waters of Earth over to Mars to revitalize that, and then we had the pearl show up on Earth after Jackson Hyde got it, and now it seems like the pearl can just act up, send an entire city someplace, and then also acts up when you're around an Omega portal system that takes you to possibly the blue.
Did it go? And the thing is, though,
but where's the pearl?
But all that progression, this makes sense that it could have just been some sort of world or whatever that it obviously needs water, just like all the other
why
ones.
An Omega symbol?
Why? I don't know.
And a pearl that accesses it.
I don't know. And again, it's going to tie into stuff with the deal, but I expect him to be on Apocalypse, and he's like, these fire pits are done. I'm going to flood them, but it's different. He's there, and this isn't a big thing. And then Jenny Greenteeth's like, I want his water. She means the blood. And then Arian
again, the whole idea of me saying this place is, as far as I'm concerned, an out-of-dimensional kind of pocket that is this the embodiment of this, thought form that, is the life force of all the universe, this idea of the blue. Like, it's not a place you can just walk to or fly a spaceship to as far as I'm concerned, but the idea that you are here, I just thought it was going to be Aquaman in space, and we're saying all of these things with the idea that we know what we're talking about, but even though we keep calling it the blue, and you can't stand against the blue, it's his and all this, I can't tell you for certain at the end of the day that I can definitively say, yep, we're on the blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way that it's played out, even with this Jenny Greenteeth,
these little hobgoblins riding around big old iguanas,
and then you'd turn the corner, and the Loch Ness monster would be there. Like anything that was a big, I don't know. That's what it seems to be with her being there. It's like, well, the graveyard of deals, but that doesn't feel exactly right. It's very odd. It's very odd. It needs to be explained a little more. I hope that it's just not, hey, the blue, and that's the wow factor.
I do hope that when we brought Arian back during that whole Drowned Earth thing, that he does talk about that he's been here, about the things. I hope that Arian is our voice of reason that gives us the exposition about what's going on because he's been here ever since that time.
No, he has. And he says, and that's like the wink wink, like, oh, I saw you do this and that. And he's, how'd you know that? Oh, I have some powers, but I'm weak, but I have powers. So he could be the guy who explains some things, but I don't know. It is weird by the end, but I did have fun reading it at the points where Aquaman's just ripping her in half, and I'm like, he's badass.
He's brutal Aquaman, and I'm kind of digging it because it's like it goes back to the more stern Aquaman we had in the 90s and 2000s, and we haven't seen that in a long time since the New 52, as far as I'm concerned. And we feel like we're getting back to it, but even the things that he's killing now are just magical riffraff. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. Just go hog wild, old Arthur.
How dare you call Jenny Greenteeth magical riffraff?
And her fucking henchmen of hobgoblins and iguanas.
Those guys, they're cute, though. At one point, they're like, oh, we scared. Oh, Jenny Greenteeth. It was funny when it ended up where somebody ended up saying to me before I read it, like, oh, Aquaman, I think I read it in the Slack. Aquaman fights Jenny Greenteeth. And I'm like, is that the real name? Or is that some trash talking shit that Aquaman's like, listen here, Jenny Greenteeth. Then I looked up. I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. But then I was confused. Yeah, the Grindylow.
Or the Grindylow. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Maybe. Look at these. They're like little lizards riding on lizards. Uh-huh. Oh my goodness, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's like a master blaster.
No, the one guy's just like, why am I not riding on you? Why do you have your hand up my ass? And yeah, Aquaman gets to fight with
runs
mud.
Blue Town.
I do like that too. Where
Jenny Greenteeth.
Arian is pretty he's pretty intuitive. He's like, I think you got some new power there, pal. You're throwing the mud. I think I saw you doing that. It's okay. Again, actually, in the thing, too, because of the Mara powers, and a lot of people have issues with that. Some people just have issues, weirdly, with Jeremy Adams at points we've talked about. But the idea where I'm sitting there, and it's not the case, but I'm like, is that why she has the powers? Just so he can throw mud? Like, that's crazy.
Mud slinging.
It's like mud slinging.
He's on the campaign trail. He's ripping his water powers.
Mud slinging. He's like, I would never support old Sebastian Johnson.
Sebastian Johnson.
That's who I'm running against. I'm mudslinging. You don't know what he did. Where was he on September 20th, if you know what I'm saying, peoples?
I don't.
That was the day that hamburger got stolen. I blame Sebastian Johnson. He's the hamburger, is what I'm going at, Eric. It's a very intriguing, long-form storytelling.
Got stolen from where?
It got stolen from right out of my hands. It did, and I said, where's that Sebastian Johnson? And where the hell's my hamburger? And that's the whole play. That's the day I decided to run.
When you say the hamburger, I can just imagine it's raw meat in your hands.
Maybe. You know me. I like it. And that's the day I decided to run, to be the head lifeguard of this here pool. That's what happens, Eric. That's the whole story. It pulls out then.
And then you all do the YMCA.
And that's part of the blue. It is. And scene. You end up where he has that. And I'm like, is that all he's doing? He's slinging the mud. And then, lo and behold, no. He's actually grabbing the blood as well.
The water inside the blood.
Yeah. And I thought there was going to be something like crazy. Like it was going to then be this real awful sludge in there. He's got the plasma. I do like that he says, like, they're doing the process. He's like, they're draining some blood. And then they give me some orange juice and cookies. And then they drain more blood later. They're doing it good. I'm an endless supply, he says. But by the end, it was weird. It was weird, but I liked it. I actually had fun. I thought that it was like, I like Aquaman in this. Again, another book, this last section is funny. It's books that we haven't had in a while that me and you always end up enjoying. So I do like it being back. And I like this bed. It looks great. I mean, he looks badass. He looks.
Well, that's the thing is, I think the action in this is amazing. I think the book looks great all the way through. It's just I have no idea what was happening by the end of the day.
I think that it might be going too big.
It lost me.
Yeah, it might be going.
And that
too
shouldn't
big
be happening.
Yeah, really. That's what happens, though, Eric. But what would you give it?
I would give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 6.5. I liked it, but I think that it can get better and better. If this is explained, it could end up being really big and really cool with that. But with that, Eric, we're at the book of the week time.
You know what time it is, don't you? We do it every week after the reviews. Doesn't matter if the books are bad or good. The highest score wins like you knew it would. It's not a concept that's real deep. Yo, sucker, it's just the book of the week. It's the book of the week. The book of the week. Hey, jerk, it's the book of the week. It's the book of the week. The book of the week. Hey, jerk, it's the book of the week. Bottles and cans. Clap your hands. Let a brother speak. It's the book of the week. Bottles and cans. Clap your hands. Let a brother speak. It's the book of the week. Shout out to all the sexy ladies out there tonight. Get fresh crew. Big boo. Shout out to all the sexy fellas out there. It's the book of the week. Shout out to all the sexy fellas out there. It's the book of the week. Shout out to all the sexy ladies out there tonight. It's the book of the week. Shout out to all the sexy fellas out there. It's the book of the week. Shout out to all the sexy ladies out there tonight.
What is your book of the week, Eric?
My book of the week is Absolute Batman number 5.
Yeah, I think mine's a tie between that and the Green Lantern Corps. So that's pretty cool. 2 books that you should check out. There's a lot of big books, like we said, and things like the Green Lantern Corps, it's just starting. So obviously it can get better and better. And Aquaman is, yeah. So everything can get better. And I think the problem, again, with Aquaman, which we just,
Actually, comics are at 1083. There's no chance for that. I'm sorry. It's gone on too long. No.
Done. And Batman and Robin we still like as well. So, yeah. I mean, these books, people might think we're, overly critical sometimes, but it's because we do love them. And you got to talk about them. You got to pick the stuff that you like and not like as well. But here's what we're going to be talking about next week. There's not a ton of books again next week. 2 books will be on.
What is a ton to you?
Well, a ton was like when we had like 18 books. Or
okay,
even
so
like,
we're never going to have a ton of books on the show.
Recently, we've had 12. 7 isn't that many because then there's just 5 on the regular show. I mean, that's not much at all.
Okay.
Once we start having to work on Fridays, then we got troubles, Eric. Then we got troubles indeed. But we end up having what will be 7 books, I believe. And also that means 5 on the regular show because, lo and behold, 2 of these books will be picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. And that will be on the Patreon Spotlight every Thursday night. Me and Eric get together and talk those two books for usually an hour and a half or longer, have some fun. Eric would say different, but I think we have fun. We also, meander a lot like this past week. You thought I was going to edit things out. I did not.
I was hoping.
Aaron. I did, so was everybody else. But here's what we're going to be talking about. And actually, we do have a couple more. It's just the idea that me and you don't talk about it, because the first one's Batman and Robin Year One, number 5, a book that me and Zach talk about, and I'm looking forward to that. Pretty cool book. We also have Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 36. I'm going to ask you,
what remember
story
what happens in that book.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
And I knew you wouldn't, because I don't remember either, and that's a problem. And I'm like, it's actually something that when we talked about at one point, you might have been interested, a Floronic Man story.
Oh, right. I do recall that now.
We'll be, and isn't Aquaman's involved, right? He came and said, hey, we got problems now, in the blue with the Floronic Man.
No, this is the past. It doesn't count yet.
Yeah, I know.
And if we
but
do,
it's still
we still
weird
call
that
it
you
clear.
have Floronic Man, and that's the kind of crazy deal. But we have Catwoman number 73. I hope that book does something that isn't just convoluted. But
I don't know. I kind of find it intriguing still.
I don't. Last issue, we didn't even deal with any of the main characters. We had these side characters. I need something more.
Who are the main characters?
Those brothers. We ended up seeing these side guys. Remember, though, we were more talking about bodyguards and side guys.
We're talking about the one brother and all his crew.
Yeah, I'm telling you, though, we're a little into this to be doing nothing. I'll read the solicit. Catwoman takes on Tokyo. Tune in, Tokyo. Selena arrives in Tokyo looking for an old ally and a much-needed respite. Unfortunately for the feline fatale of crime, her enemies are a step ahead of her. As she struggles to outwit them, Catwoman is offered a proposition. What if she were to completely disappear and give up Selena Kyle forever?
Oh, no.
We'll see. That seems like it's going to be another side story. We'll see. I need something in that. I think she's trying to be too clever. And I mean Selena, as always. We have also Nightwing, number 123. I hope we don't have to argue about kids getting shot and shit in that one. But
Jim, right now we have to worry about the Fly Boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that's what all the buzz was about.
That's a good one. You know what? I don't give you credit because usually you fuck things up, but that one was pretty good.
That was pretty good. It is. And I just looked at it. I'm glad that when I did look that it didn't say that in the solicit, and then you'd go, I'm not even going to read it. It does not. It just says the Fly Boys and stuff.
Okay.
The Fly Boys. The
buzz is back.
The question all along the Watchtower, number 4. Here's the thing. Nobody's reading this book. Nobody at all. Nobody. But it's suddenly becoming, in my mind, a book of me and yours. Like the idea where I don't like it. I really
don't. All.
It does not annoy me as much as some books, but it's such a nothing book, but it's becoming a weird Jim and Eric book.
Superman's here. What are we going to do? I need to read this book to see how everybody's not dead.
The book ends up where it's so goofy that I've started to have fun talking about it with you. And in my mind, the whole time thinking, nobody knows what we're talking about. This is just me and Eric talking about this book. And it kind of goes, on the cover, it's a Macbeth cover with the question there with the head of Cyborg Superman. I'm like, what? What is happening? It also looks like a Terminator. I have to read this. The Watchtower overrun. Cornered and betrayed, the question of Batman must rally a ragtag group of allies to retake the Watchtower from a surprising... But where's everybody?
No, I'm telling you, they're off doing things. We have some challenge with the unknown. We got Buddy, we got the Blue Beetles. This is what we have on board. But think about it, though. You might have a ragtag group of heroes, but these motherfuckers have to go up against the Cyborg Superman, the Eradicator, Nightshade, and a Robot Conduit.
I was just getting Robot Conduit. That makes no sense. I was just going to say the idea that these assholes ain't taking down the Eradicator. Cyborg Superman.
You say that, but they already did.
Well, yeah, they did. They also took down Robot Conduit.
Yeah.
Doesn't even make sense. But Nightshade.
But all of their forces together? Oh, my.
And really, the big thing is like, now, Nightshade, oh, no, who's going to pour our drinks? The question
drinks.
Yeah, really.
Now I don't have to tip.
That's true. The play of all this, though, is like, it's such a ridiculously bad concept. The idea that you're on, it's not like they're, like, hey, everybody, the Watchtower is the big thing now, but somebody has to, stick around at the old Justice League deal and see, and then things go wrong. So, but they're on the Watchtower where all the heroes are, but yet it's so contained to these couple of wackadoos. It's too big when Cyborg Superman gets involved, and I still want to have I want to have the scene where all this goes down, shit is going so bad, and then eventually Superman comes back and is like, oh, what happened? They're like, oh, we fought Cyborg Superman and Eradicator. And he's like, who the fuck? Why didn't you call me? Because like, those are my dudes. You're stepping on my toes. It's just crazy. Alex Seguera is not good. He's not good. He writes some of the Star Wars stuff. Everything I write from him, I don't get it. And then yet I'm still on his Substack. I have no idea how it happened.
Jim, we still have 3 more issues, half the series to tell us what's going on with All Along the Watchtower.
And you're including this number 4. You're not telling me it's a 7-issue series.
No, I'm saying I'm including this number 4.
Okay. Yeah, we're halfway
4, 5,
through.
6.
But again, the idea that I don't even care for explanations, I just want the goofiness to continue. I mean, I'm telling you, eventually, Doomsday, Darkseid, they're all going to show up, and they're just going to all fight them. And then next thing they're like, and then Renee Montoya is like,
ragtag crew.
A ragtag crew. And then she's like, oh no, now we need to call in people. Somebody get me Red Canary. And then Red Canary comes in and starts fighting with them. That'd be the best.
Honestly, with the group that we have here, like, I don't want to talk shit on Jaime Reyes, Ted Kord, or freaking
still not,
or Animal Man, but the idea, like, maybe Red Canary could serve a point here.
Well, maybe.
Give her some panel play.
What could serve a point is the reason why in this week's Black Lightning, you end up having Black Lightning be the shit. He's like, you're putting my daughter in harm's way because all shit's breaking loose in this fucking watchtower.
Don't worry, Black Lightning Jefferson. We have a sheriff in town. Her name is Renee Montoya, the Question.
Yeah, Renee. Oh, she's the sheriff. What does that mean? Well, she's dressed up like a sheriff.
Yeah, okay, she's a cowgirl.
What does she have? Oh, she has a Phantom Zone gun. Oh, how does that work? We don't know.
And even if it does work, it seems like, Cyborg Superman can hack his way out.
Yeah, he hacked his way out, even though we kind of fixed that
through telepathy.
Bit ago, and telepathy. And he's also using mind-controlled telepathy, not just to take control of machines or anything, but he's doing it with people as well.
I don't know.
All right. It says, though, that, the mastermind, I love this. That's the true mastermind behind the conspiracy to take over. that is Cyborg Superman, right?
As far as I'm concerned, unless we have somebody else waiting in the wings.
Can you imagine? Mongols here. You have him. Who else could it be? You have,
General Zod.
Parasite, General Zod.
He's here because Lois stole his powers.
Somehow, because this book's so fucked up, you get his wife. She's alive again.
Ursa?
Yeah, Ursa's there. She's the big mastermind. I just like the idea that the Question has Cyborg Superman's head like she's Macbeth. That doesn't really work. And then the story, the thing says bones and all. So it's a mystery, that book. You need a sheriff to solve that shit. Titans number 20. Maybe we'll find out more about old Deathstroke. That's what I'm
calling the Terror Titans right now. Like the group that he's putting together, what he's doing.
Yeah, I'll even read this. Tempest Flare. Take an overly emotional empath. Now, yeah, they're going to go after Raven. Remember, they're going to go and give her the deal. It's funny. They're going to be like, she's going to be going nuts and yelling, and nobody's going to know the difference. So, like, what's happening to her? She's a bitch.
Well, that's Rachel doing Rachel things.
Yeah, that Rachel. Take an overly emotional empath and add a hearty dose of psychosis. And what do you got? My fucking life is what you get, Eric. I don't need this. I want comics to escape that shit, because that's what I get. A recipe for a disaster. Ah, yes.
Your minor disaster.
You sprinkle a little of the emotions there, then half a cup of psychosis. That's the recipe. A belligerent boyfriend, an enraged archer, an unsound cyborg. That's what I'm more interested in. What the fuck he's doing down there.
What was he working on in the lab?
Yeah, in the lab.
I agree. That is the most interesting part outside of our villains in this book. I'm telling you, the villains are going to overshadow our heroes because all they're doing is bickering.
We even had a bunch of people get involved with us talking about it. I think it was on YouTube because we put the one deal up there, or maybe it was Twitter, that people were like, oh shit, I didn't even think of that. Like, people were getting all fired up with what Cyborg's doing.
Yeah.
Daddy. He's making a day. He's either making daddy or a sex toy.
Or
That's
Red Tornado.
Red Tornado. Yeah, that would be disappointing. Like, he's just on the side. He's like, I think I'll take care of this Red Tornado body program.
Somebody's got it, because it seems like we're just walking around like this, letting Red Tornado be a holographic head for no reason. If you have the resources, but nobody's doing shit about it.
Seriously. Two of the people who are main charge. You got Superman who's never going to do that Bottle City of Candor, and you got Batman who'll never take care of the Joker. These guys never finish shit. They never do. So, like, yeah, we'll get to that. There's a long list of shit before they get to Red Tornado. Is it that they just want Red Tornado? Like, they don't want to diss Red Tornado fans of saying he's just there to be like the Watchtower deal. Well, so this makes it easier.
if you want to put it into some kind of perspective, there is the idea that Red Tornado can be reprogrammed to be used against them. Like, you know what? He's good as a head. A holographic head that can't attack
That's what I
us.
was saying. He's just there like, yeah, but you want to make it...
We got Reddy's brain. That's all we need.
And that's the thing, too. You want to make him seem like he's doing something so that he doesn't complain enough. Because he seems fine. At one point, I think he even said, they're getting to it. I'm fine.
You say this, the idea, like, we have done so little with Red Tornado. Like, he has a wife and daughter he has not gone home to because he has no body.
But, Eric, you say that.
You just want to write a freaking I Ain't Got No Body song about Red Tornado?
Oh, that'd be good. The thing, though, is Tom King said in Heroes in Crisis, he wanted a family and didn't have one.
He did?
What are you telling me? Yeah, I actually think they're like, hey, we got a body. He's like, ixnay on that. Don't tell my wife and kid. I'm fucking sick of them. I'm here as a head. I tell them I'm busy. That's what he's a bad person.
As far as I know, his daughter's still like rooming at a dorm school with Arrowette. And that was, 20 years ago.
She didn't bring that up when we saw her recently, but kind of cool. Also, the idea, though, is at this point, he's more AI than anything. Pull the plug. Kill that asshole. I don't like it. That AI is bullshit.
Wouldn't.
And
don't you dare kill Reddy.
And add, but don't kill like Udio or Masuna. I need that AI, but don't do the other. An agitated alien, a testy tactician. Is that
I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about anymore.
This is the deal. Like, are they saying that Donna Troy has testes? Is that what they mean? It says a belligerent boyfriend, an enraged archer, an unsound cyborg, an agitated alien, a testy tactician, and a livid team leader. Oh, that is the testy.
It's Nightwing.
Why is he testy?
Why has he been testy?
He hasn't been.
He's a billionaire with a hot girlfriend. He's pissed off all the time. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can take I don't know. You end up with he's been so nice, but he keeps saying weird things that he thinks that Donna takes wrong. I don't think he's been testy.
Not until now.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a weird book, I'm telling you. What the Titans are the worst part about it. I don't look forward to reading it, even though I love the Titans.
Yeah, but that last issue was a little teeny bit better.
It wasn't.
I was trying to be positive, Eric. Now you're making me feel like a Red Tornado. I ain't got no. That would be good. I'm just Red Tornado. See, it works. It really works. I can get the rhymes going on everywhere I go. Libid team leader. Yes, Titan tempers are running hot. But the angriest person of all, dear reader, will be you if you miss this issue.
No, just
they're
be
playing those games. When did this all of a sudden? It's sudden you have fucking Don Pardo doing the announcing. At least it's not Harley. Hey guys, it's me, and I'm gonna do this fucking wackadoo shit. I can't stand this.
I love the idea you're blaming Harley herself.
It is. She's the one that's making them do it.
She's not doing it.
Yeah, but they think that people want that. It's what really drives me nuts. Like, it is Harley because they think that's what people want. And they are the worst. It's like, hey there. I can't even do it. It's so like, hey there, fellas. Look at me. I got my thumb up my ass and I want to go to Hollywood. It's like so crazy. Zippity-doo. Zippity-doo now. It's like, oh, God, get out of here. And then I get mad. And really, I do get mad thinking, I still say I like Harley a lot. It's one
you
of
still like Harley a lot.
Well, not one of my favorite, but she's up there. I really like her. So they're targeting me with this fucking solicit. They think that that's what I want. It's not. No Harley fan wants that. And Harley fans...
Oh, you speaking for Harley fans now?
Maybe. I'm speaking for the Harley fans with a brain. How about that? I'm speaking with the people who want to like Harley but are scared to admit it because of how bad she's gotten. I've said all along, and I said this years ago, that she should have went away for about a year and a half. And I've been saying
since the beginning of the New 52, well, not the beginning, but ever since Harley got her Coney Island solo book, which seemed to be outside of continuity until Tom King said it was in continuity
and it was.
for his Heroes in Crisis.
I know
it was completely out.
Bullshit. Even Jimmy Palmiotti said it was its own. It was a Harleyverse.
The only good Harley Quinn we've gotten was her in the Suicide Squad books.
Yeah, that one was really good. And I'll say...
We liked the Kevin stuff, but it wasn't great overall.
And that's the thing. That was okay, but it wasn't great. And it really fell apart. But we did like the Future State deal. I liked the first issue, and you liked the second. But we still did like it. And in fact, before Stephanie Phillips pretty much shamed us online and said that we were all assholes, I actually talked to her about it and said I thought she was doing a good job. And she actually thanked me. And I was talking a bit about Harley, saying, the idea that I liked Harley, and I was glad that she was showing, the different facets. And then next thing I know, Gabe ruined that.
He does that.
Gabe showed up, and Jesus Christ, Gabe has lost me friendships and family. is what he did. And then,
I've been there.
End up like
Welcome
Jeff
to the party, pal.
Jeff Lemire. I love Jeff Lemire. I love America. And he blocked us because of Gabe. This is a guy who I could ask anything. And he was the guy's Canadian. He was so nice. He'd tell me things and whatnot.
You're saying all this like you've never been blocked by somebody for a reason.
Well, reasons, but are they legit? I mean,
yes.
Is it legit for somebody to block you and get mad because you say they look like they stink? I don't know. All right. Well, then again, I have had a lot of people to block after this podcast now. Now that you told me that, Eric, I better get on it. Wonder Woman number 18. Speaking of a deal, too, though, with that.
The majority's right on this one.
I've said a lot of nasty. I hope to not say nasty, but I've been so angry to the point where Tom King has asked people when they. It's so funny that somebody would even bring us up to Tom King, but I've had multiple people say that they have gone to conventions, got thing with Tom King and said, "Oh, I listen to Weird Science," and they talk, and Tom King knows us in that way and says, "Why do they hate me? Why do they hate me personally? And why do they like that?" And then I feel bad and whatnot. I think that's what he's doing. CIA guy, Eric, he's covert, but
do some psyops on him.
Never blocked me. And and the big thing of that, I respect him for that. He's never blocked me, never done anything. And there's times where I would even argue with him and things like that, but he's never blocked me. So kudos to you, Tom King. And really, the reason why I don't like you is that you put pen to paper, is what it is, Eric. There you go. I had to be a little fancy for him. He gets a little fancy, that guy. Here's Wonder Woman number 18. Wonder Woman rejoins the fight.
All right.
Here's the worst thing. Again, a solicit that has to point out that the main character is actually getting involved in the war that she's been involved with is nonsense. After the birth of her daughter, Diana finally returns to the battlefield, ready to take down those who dared to harm her Wonder Girls.
Daughter.
Yeah.
She didn't birth her.
Eric, you didn't know she's been bitching to everybody. She was in labor for 23 hours, is what she's been saying.
Bitch, you understand.
Take down Sovereign's formidable general. I love when the ladies all bring that up. I was in labor for that long. I'm like, I think you might have a bad
awful.
doctor. Tanya could never say that. With Tanya, it's like Rafe actually was coming out before they even knew. It was crazy. And then they had to react. And then I was getting yelled at and just called the worst names. To take down Sovereign's formidable general, Grail must call upon her friend turned foe, the cheetah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I don't know why that doesn't float my boat. Maybe because it's
because you've read every issue before this. Yes.
Yeah. And then it says, "Oh, by the way, Wonder Woman doesn't join in. She goes space supermarket shopping. She's going to go get groceries." I don't get it. I don't get it. When at one point Wonder Woman, you had to go through a gauntlet to actually be allowed to help, and then they were just doing all the work. It just that story is not kept its narrative.
I like the idea that you think a gauntlet is playing video games.
Well, there was more to that. I can't remember what else. That was like, which one was it?
Not for Donna Troy.
Was it Donna? But the others were other things, but they were all wacky stuff, weren't they? I can't remember. What were the other ones because they did the 3 contests?
I don't recall what the other ones were. I just remember the video games kind of ruined it all.
I believe it was rock, paper, scissors, and a staring contest is what it ended up being. It was all bullshit, though. And then I knew number 1. I've seen the previews in the back of this week's issues in particular, and I don't know about this one.
I haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, I like Jamal Campbell's art. He's also writing, but I don't know. It just seems like something that I might love, I might hate, I might be mid, Eric. I might get all the ring.
You've been mid your whole life. Why stop now?
Yeah, really. I don't know. Thanks a lot. You say these things. We're about 10 minutes away from going. Now I have to go off and live a week of my miserable life thinking that you said I was mid, Eric. You're a less than an enabler. You are a putter downer.
I love the idea that you're going to go away for a week and think that I said you're mid when I clearly said it to your face.
No, I'm going to think of when you said it. That's what you're doing, you jerk. And then I'll just sit there and envision of me killing you over and over. Superstar Jamal Campbell kicks off an all-new Zatanna limited series.
I'm looking at it now. The little flashback story time stuff is obviously a little weird, but once you actually get to the characters, I think this looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm saying though it has a weird play. I thought. Read it then. Don't just look at it, you jerk. Zatanna Zatara, the mistress of magic, is back on tour. She's got her stage crew back together and is looking forward to a new, less chaotic chapter of life. However, her plans are disrupted before they even begin when her stage crew is abducted by a ghostly new adversary, the Lady White. Now, here's the thing. These guys, gals, you know the shit's going to happen, right? You don't get hired by Zatanna and not think that something bullshit is going to happen.
I don't know if Zatanna's out as a superhero. She's just a stage magician.
No,
as far
I'm saying
as
just
concerned.
the magician shit that goes on. And, I think that
anybody... a stagehand at a magician shit because she might be a warlock?
I'm telling you.
She might put the black magic on you?
Well, you're in a universe that
she might actually saw me in half on stage?
I think these guys, there's like these people in this crew, it's like, get hired by Zatanna, move to Alaska, or go on like a fishing boat. I think they got shit to hide. So I'm saying I don't know that you have to save them. Now Zatanna is plunged into machinations of tricks, swords, and curses. Should have been something that rhymed, not tricks, swords, and curses.
I like the idea that you think it should be rhymed instead of backwards.
Well,
that's a Metrican book.
Speaking of backwards. That threatened to, but they're kind of doing the thing. They didn't say back. There would have been. No, if this solicit was all backwards. Oh my goodness, that'd actually be cool. And if you were going to do that,
have Bizarro coming out.
I know that people get upset at this as well.
We'd read the solicit. We'd have no idea what's actually happening.
If you had it in the, because most people have phones, and make it in an app thing of the actual deal that you can go and either there's a QR code or you can actually go. And then it does like a magical deal, and then you could read it through that. Would be kind of neat, but it wouldn't serve its purpose. You're supposed to get people to buy the thing, and it would give me a headache. Oh, I would have been yelling if that was the case. And curses that threaten to tear her apart from the inside out. So maybe it'll be cool. And people love Zatanna, and a lot of the time...
I need something to move forward with Zatanna. It's been a long time. She's always in the background. She showed up in Justice League Dark and all these other places, but... Zatanna does not have the page space to ever evolve her character or story.
It is true, and when we do end up maybe getting it's almost like Raven. It's the same thing when we get remember those Raven miniseries.
Even the idea we've evolved Raven so much from like 1980 on, and they just decided, just make her a kid again. Like everything we've done before, just kind of reiterate over and over again.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
We had great progression back in the day.
Yeah, I'm just saying now when she shows up, it's the same old, same old. I mean, we did have a big story with her dark self, but that still seemed kind of wacky. She's just there. I'm looking at the Zatanna. She got the fucking thunder thighs going on. Holy moly, at the end of that thing.
Really?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, you got to see this. She does not skip leg day.
I do believe, though, that thunder thighs is like a derogative term towards them.
Not in my house. I'm telling you.
Is that why you didn't celebrate Valentine's Day? Because you keep telling your wife she has thunder thighs?
Maybe. I did tell her at one point that she had a big stern back. Like, it's one of the things back in the
your compliments are shit.
Unless I was in 1820.
You're a handsome woman.
1820, you got birth hips and you got the big back. You are prime deal. Like, maybe I'm stuck in it all the time. I'm just an old romantic. Listen, it looks like you can pump out a lot of kids with them hips. That's pretty good, right? You got that? And also, you don't talk back. That'd be a good thing, too. But yeah, this Zatanna book's the last one. I would believe in the whole deal of our Patreon spotlight, Zatanna will probably be on there. They do tend to pick number ones, though. They didn't pick the Green Lantern Corps, so what else could it be? Wonder Woman has been a big thing, but also Question All Along the Watchtower.
Big thing, yeah.
All right, yeah. That's about it. That would be the ones that it's going to be the battle between, I think. Zatanna, Question All Along the Watchtower, and Wonder Woman. That's what
maybe just the Titans, because it's been sucking nonstop.
Yeah, it has been sucking, right? It's like in the blue is what it is. But two of those books needed the money, Eric. So it's late.
You were spelling it different.
It's late. I have to go to bed.
Maybe it's late. I didn't get on the freaking trolley with that one.
It's 6:30. All this time, you didn't realize that what I was saying, the blue, was you blowing dudes. You didn't get that? Okay.
I need you to point it out for me.
It's free advertising.
Look at Jimmy Boy, he's got eyes.
Free advertising. It's like the idea of the revealing that black mask ended up being bad in the absolute Batman. I did get a couple jokes, people laughing at the idea.
I did see that. That was funny.
Black mask I shop and I see at Walmart. Oh, he's bad. Oh my goodness. But again, if people want to listen to our absolute deal, even though you missed the live stream like jerks, you can go over and listen to the replay.
They had Valentine's plans.
Yeah, well, there you go. And now you can do what you really love and go listen to us talk about the absolute Batman, which we did like enough, but we're kind of, well, we had
My book of the week.
We had a different of opinions about the money. I did see somebody else saying like, how much, Jimmy? Should have spent a little of that money and then save the rest. That was a hell of a lot of money.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, so go and listen to that. And then also, if you like what you hear or just want to hear more of nonsense and all that stuff, we have some pretty good shows over at the Patreon. And most of them being the idea that we pick what we do are very positive and very fun, going over some books and things that we do love, even like a Grant Morrison. Me and Gray do a Grant Morrison podcast, and I'm learning to love the Grant Morrison more and more because some of his stuff, and we're cherry picking the stuff that's really
when
good.
are you guys doing the Green Lantern?
Yeah, I ain't doing that. And even the idea that people were like, oh, you're doing the Grant Morrison X-Men. I didn't like that. We only did like the first trade, and we haven't even got back to it because it wasn't great. But we're doing stuff like the Invisibles, which I don't know that a lot of people are aware of, but even Animal Man, Doom Patrol. Animal Man and Doom Patrol are great.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Invisibles is great too, but in a different way. It's so wacky and so crazy, but it's cool.
When you guys get into his Justice League run or JLA
I don't know
run.
because me and you already did like the first.
We did the first arc
when we did that. Yeah, so I don't know. And again, we kept, at one point we were getting a little too, eyes were too big, and we were adding everything. So also, just as a shout out, me and Tom are going to be talking about it on our Elseworlds podcast. So me and him might have another podcast that might involve a certain character with a cape and a triangle arc is what he asked me if we do. No, we were going to do this triangle arc Superman stuff because people were
not Angle Man.
So, no, not Angle Man. That'd be great. We're doing an Angle Man podcast, everybody. Join up with the Patreon. But yeah, we're figuring out some stuff. He wants to do that and kind of mix it in with the Elseworld stuff as well. So
this has nothing to do with what you're talking about. I said it like, the White Martians in Hyperion, but I just realized as soon as I said it, I'm like, that's wrong. I had to look it up. It's the Hyper Clan.
Oh, the Hyper. That's kind
the White Martians were not the Hyperion. They were the Hyper Clan.
Like
I said, like, oh, that's wrong. Someone's going to call me out of that.
Yeah. And also, this is the perfect time. It's 6:45.
Inner gang.
Outer gang. I think
under
said,
gang.
Did you say under gang?
I think I might have said outer gang. Maybe.
Whichever
I don't know.
you said, I said the opposite of it and was wrong. Like inside gang, under gang. I think you said outer gang. I said under gang.
I don't know.
Did you say bump gang?
Maybe.
The best thing that Inner Gang and Bruno Mannheim ever did was when they were dealing with Lois Lane.
Author X, you mean?
Author X. And then me and you had the funnest time talking about how Bruno Mannheim makes you put on a full suit so he can throw you in a pool and electrocute you. I'm telling you, that ended up where it was
Dan
one
Jenkins
of the things.
Is coming strong with that.
We talked about it on the podcast, laughed the whole time. Then talked about it all week at work and laughed the whole time and just did impersonations of shit and stuff. That was cool. That was the fun times, Eric. But that's it. That is it for the deal. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, all of the people on our Patreon, all of the Get Fresh crew, everything. Eric, what do we say at the end of the show?
Everybody have a great week. Keep it weird. And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
Every other show sucks. That's why you're listening to us. Every other show sucks. We're the only one that isn't us. So thank you for being smart. From the bottom of our heart. Thank you for being smart. 'Cause everything not us just stinks like a fart. They stink like a fart. Stinks like a fart. Like a fart. They stink like a fart. Let's go! 2, 3, 4, 5. Eric has read comics most of his life. 9, 8, 7, 6. Jim can really act like a shut your mouth. Every other show sucks. That's why you're listening to us. Every other show sucks. We're the only one that isn't us. So thank you for being smart. From the bottom of our heart. Thank you for being smart. 'Cause everything not us just stinks like a fart. They stink like a fart. Stinks like a fart. Like a fart. They stink
The galaxy's in danger, but we ain't gon' trip. Got my ring charged up, man, they gon' flip. Planets are calling, time to rally the crew. Got Kilowatt guy and a rookie or two. No fear in my heart, just will in my soul. Mofo's got the vibe, now we ready to roll. Back in the saddle, the lanterns unite. Evil step back, cause we bring in the light.
We back. I love the core. I love the core. Yeah, we back. I love the core. I love the core. Yeah, we back. I love the core. Yeah, we back.
Free and rain shine when the universe cracks.
I love the core. No fear, just fight.
Emerald energy going so bright.
I love the core. I love the core. Yeah, we back. I love the core. Yeah, we back.
Cardi is tripping, but we don't slow down. Sinestro acting up, put him underground. Lofty still greed, atrocity's mad, but we got that willpower. Best they ever had, flying sector to sector, no rest, no doubt. If Parallax shows, we gon' stomp them out. Green Lantern oath, man, you already know. Land to stay lit, yeah, we never let go. Yo, if I was a rock star, I'd be on the world tour. If I was Superman's daddy, I'd be Core L. My favorite instrument, an accordion. And when I'm at a crime scene, I need the Core O-nar. Man, forget all that. I love the Core. Award. Red.
I love the core. Yeah, we back. I love the core. I love the core. Yeah, we back. I love the core. Yeah, we back.
Green shine when the universe cracks.
I love the core. No fear, just fight.
Emerald energy glowing so bright.
I love the core.